is that after making a mistake, we need to face up to it. We need to tell the truth. That is integrity, telling the truth and honoring promises no matter the consequences.
They call me a god. 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 Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get stressed. I'll take all the pressure like I'm acing this test. Oh! Tear it up like I'm Jason. I see the world like it's ready for the taking. I see this place like a game I'm playing. Straight to the bank to collect my payments. No negotiations. It's my way. I was born impatient. And like a damn Freemason, I'll run this nation. They call me a god. 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 I don't know how to stop. I just go till I drop. Whether it's working or shots, give it all that I got. You can watch me work in my element. Anyone in the way is irrelevant. Wanna cross me, cool, not intelligent. Cause I don't forget shit like an elephant. Go ahead and tempt me. Put it on the line and you'll come up empty. If I got time, I'm deadly. Never caught off guard, no, I'm always ready. I got a hand real steady. Look me in the eye and you'll see no hezzy. About to get real messy. I'll put you in a grid 6 feet like Kenny. Call me a god. Call me a god. Call me a god.
I'm called of God. Called of God. And Tim Ballard told me he'd been called of God. Some wild-eyed prophet like...
Love me tender, love me sweet, never let me go. You have made my life complete, and I love you.
Welcome, everybody. How's it going? How y'all doing? Good to see you guys here. Hey, A. Aguilar and Girl Baller 20. Lisa Hayes. April 1st is getting closer. Yeah, that's no doubt. Oh, hey, Dora Pinion and Shannon. And of course, Donna. Donna's backstage. And we have Trace on the case. And oh my God, my mind goes blank sometimes. A lot of times lately. Oh my God. Beach Bum and Detective's Daughter and Sue's. I think that's okay. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I try not to say their real names, So I'm like, I have to sit there and go through my files in my head, right? How y'all doing? I'm sorry for the late schedule. I have been going, I didn't know what it was I was going through. I just knew that what it was, I couldn't put my finger on it. And so I've been just soul searching all week. I disconnected. I don't really know how else to explain it besides I couldn't feel, you're numb. I was numb and I didn't know what it was. I've never pushed away from the case like this. This was the first time. And I was just like, well, what does this even mean? Like, what do I do? Where do I go from here? How do I don't just abandon it. That's not how this works. But anyway, so I've just been doing a lot of soul searching. Just trying to figure out where I fit in this whatever the hell this is, this nightmare. What am I doing anything? Am I even am I doing justice for the victims? Am I bringing anything of value to the case? I mean, just all these things that you're just like, okay, what am I doing here? And anyways, hey, Megan Music, it's good to see you. I hope all is going well. It's good to see you here. Thanks for the hearts too. That's sweet. Hey, S.L. Connolly and Angela Davidson, Janelle Murphy. How you doing? Lil Brands. Anita Keeler. How are you? Okay. All right. Uh, I don't know. I don't know about that. Well, kind of. This, and it's not that I want credit, but it's just like, wait. Anyways, we've heard from every other, what do you call it? Leading authority or, in the case, it would just be nice to be able to tell my story, which is about them. It's about the victims and my quest for doing all this. It's such dark. It's so dark all the time. And, it depletes your energy. This is just another wave of grief, I do believe. So I'm like on the verge of crying all the time, like I'm doing right now. But it needs to come out. And I mean, that's part of healing, is going through the feelings and working through them and talking about them and know where to place them in your history, in our own history, in our own timelines. And how do we deal with this? And how do we deal with that? And where does this go? And y'all know I'm not an organized human being. I appreciate the organization of others. I do. I depend on it a lot. And I'm grateful. I just don't have that knack, or maybe I did before, but because of this, it is just compiled and it just mashed into one big, one big ugly thing, and then, but there's so many different parts that make up that ugly thing, even from just when I was a child or growing up and things like that. My marriages, my divorces, things that I've been challenged with in life. Where, it's just like, where do you file these, so to speak? And, anyway, so it's hard to condense and just a brief summary, and that's kind of what today's society depends on is, all right, well, just sum it up for me, or just give me the key points, give me the bullet points. And I appreciate those too. However, it's like, if you want to get to the root of the problem, you got to do the work. You have to do the work, or it's not your work. You'll never learn. We won't learn if we don't actually experience it for ourselves. If we don't do our own research, if we don't do the work to work through these problems, or these theories in the case, even, I'm kind of going from life, regular life, normal, just being a human being. And then, on top of that, it, it also incorporates into how I deal with things going forth in my research, just in my own family members' murders. It sucks. It really does suck. And everybody deals with it differently. But that's just a part of life. Every single person on this planet deals with their own process, their own way. We always, when we're analyzing these cases and stuff, I've learned, I'm not a professional, but I'm learning right here along with you that people react to different situations differently. Everybody, every single human being. And that's because we don't all have the same perspectives, which is life. I mean, that's the point of this is, you don't have identical people. We're not clones. Simple. But a lot of people definitely have their own opinions. That everybody also has their own opinions, and they do. How do I say that? They try to tell you how you should react, um, or because you acted, or because oh my god, because you responded this way, then that means this, or anyways, and it's just don't tell me how to feel. Okay. Let's just get that straight. I will not tell you how to feel. I can have my opinions. I can have my own thoughts about it, but I mean, it just is what it is. Um, so, and then, so earlier, yeah, I noticed that, well, yesterday, and I decided yesterday, this is what kind of broke my week of numbness. Uh, uh, I mean, I was walking around my room and I was just I nervous clean, I just fidget and move things around. And well, I'm just trying to figure out what to do with myself, if that makes sense. And, so, let me get back over there. What I did was I don't really know much about the Moscow murders. I know just what's in, I don't go deep into it or anything, and again, I just kind of observe it from, it just is an outlier, because I'm focused on Tylee, Charles, Tammy, JJ, and Joe, and everything else just kinda is on the outside of that spectrum. I see vaguely, in a larger picture kinda way of how to, like, what's going on. I see what's, kinda going on. A general consensus, but I don't know all the details. Um, anyways, and so I was watching this video. Or actually, it came on by itself because I didn't purposely go find it, and anyway, so this is, Idaho murders, remembering the victims, and there was just this part in here, and it caught me, and I just started to cry. I cried so hard, and then, of course, that allowed me to be able to talk about things with Jason, and so, we just kinda talked about things, and I mean, I was just crying. It's a pressure relief valve, and I think sometimes I've explained it like this. Sometimes if I were to let the actual, like when I cry, I feel like I have to hold it back. If I don't, then I feel like it would physically kill me. Like because it's so heavy. And so it's like I can't let it all out at one time because it hurts. It hurts to cry. But it also is so relieving too, it makes my eyes more green after I cry. It's refreshing. It lets off a lot of pressure. My shoulders can drop a little. Sometimes I don't think I have shoulders. I think they're in my ears. And I'm just like, I have a schneck is what I call it because it's just so heavy and it's too much for one person to have to carry. And so that's why I do believe in God. And I do believe that he surrounds us with the people that need to be there, that are supposed to be there. That way you don't have to go through these things by yourself. or feel alone. Because this is a very lonely place to be. There are some people who, just jump on the I don't know what it is. It's the weirdest thing, and I plan on writing about it in a book. If I can ever get around to doing that. It sounds easy, according to other people, like, I'm like, "Well, good God, how do they do that so fast?" And anyways, I don't know where the template is. But anyway, so, um, but just this whole process of going through it in the public spotlight, the cases, um, high profiled and widely known, and it's awesome in that sense because I met you people through that. Um you make a lot of amazing and beautiful friendships um and as you learn of people and what they do and their expertise and everything, and it's just a whole new respect. But I don't really know what I'm trying to get at. It's just some people think of it, and I know you've seen it in other cases, like where Chris Watts, Jodi Arias, high profile cases, Casey Anthony, where it's like there's a development of a fan base, which is really gross. And it's weird. It's weird because it's like, no, that's not. We're here because these people are infamous. They're not cool. They're horrible, horrible, or they were. I'm not gonna say they're horrible people, but they did horrible things. Whatever led them there is between them and their God, and that's for them to do the work. We can't do that for anybody else. We can't do the work for anybody else. We can only do it for ourselves. So I know what I saw and what I experienced, um, having Lori as my aunt, her and my uncle adopting my brother's baby, JJ, and how that in itself impacted me. I can just tell you from my perspective. That's it. Not saying it's the way, but it's another perspective. It's not like, um, this is what it is and that's that. It's just what it is through my perspective and you can learn from it. That's just what this is. So, but yeah, there are the people that will use you and, just to get to the spotlight or to get the accolades, I don't or for themselves. I don't even know what that is. That's the weird part of it. It's just like the dark side of true crime, genre, whatever. But these are real lives and there's real victims and then there's real victim family members who are left to shoulder the burden. It is a burden and it's inflicted by the perpetrators. It's inflicted by the murderers, the rapists, the pedophiles, the people who are doing just these horrible, egregious things to your loved ones, children, women, men alike. There's no race, there's no boundaries, there's no creed, there's no sex. I mean, it's abhorrence and it's evil. It's morally, what is the word? I've said it so many times, morally bankrupt, morally it starts with a D. But anyways, so, anyways, I don't really have a plan for today. So I'm just kinda taking you through the process of what I've kinda been doing. And so, I mean, it was just
in
this
Idaho who have
it was this part about Ethan's mom and, try to get to it. Well, oh, whoa. I think I got it right. I don't know the people's names and stuff like that, like
his legacy with the Ethan Smile Foundation.
Any kid, any dream in Ethan's name. It's the very, very best that we can do for him.
Stacy and Jim Chapin tell us about their precious son.
And literally a year ago, Parents Weekend, we were celebrating these amazing kids that we'd raised. We were like, okay, maybe we get to step back and
Breathe.
take a deep breath and say they're going to be okay. You know, they have each other and they're going to live the best life, and they'll always have the three of them. And it's a really terrible situation that our family has been put into.
Stacy and Jim Chapin are doing their best to move forward in memory of their beautiful son, Ethan. Ethan was a triplet, and all three of the Chapin triplets, Ethan, Hunter, and Maisie, they went to the U of I together. We sat down with the Chapins at the U of I to talk about the past year and how they're now carrying on Ethan's legacy.
This is so beautiful. Prepare to cry.
I think it's the very first thing I actually told Maisie and Hunter when we picked him up on the evening of November 13th a year ago. I said, I don't know what just happened here, but this will not sink our family.
A year after their son's death, we met Stacy and Jim Chapin back at the University of Idaho at Ethan's fraternity house, Sigma Chi. I think a lot of people are just wondering how you guys are doing.
I've found a place to tuck Ethan in my heart, and then you just have to get up and put your best foot forward.
I'm a lot better than I was. Just knowing that the two kids, Hunter and Maisie, are doing well is a relief for me.
It's literally all that matters as a mom.
Hunter and Maisie Chapin are back at the U of I this year.
The friendships that they have and the support system that they have, it's priceless for us.
Let's talk about Ethan. Tell me what made him shine, because he shined from birth.
He was easy. Yes, he was so easy. He must have known it from the beginning that he just was going to have to take Easy Street because there were two others. Somebody was going to cry until they got the attention, and Ethan just was like, well, it's fine. I'll just wait my turn.
Sure.
Amazing. Hunter just loved to be around him, and everybody loved to be around him. I mean, he just had this magical thing with people.
That's a word we haven't used in describing him. It's true. He had a magical, he touched people. It was amazing.
Months after his death, they started a foundation in his honor.
It's called the Ethan Smile Foundation. People want to genuinely help our family. How do you help a family who's in this situation? And, we had money in a GoFundMe account. And so we put all of it into the foundation, and we will scholarship kids.
Stacy also wrote a children's book with a portion of the proceeds going to the foundation.
The title of the book is The Boy Who Wore Blue, and it was actually his triplet color. It's a wonderful story. It's a reminder to just live your best life.
She went on the Today Show to talk about it with Savannah Guthrie.
It's the only thing that I have left as a mom is to be his voice. Do I wish we were not under these circumstances? Hell yes. I'd live in a cardboard box on a street to have my son home, but that isn't going to happen.
Ethan also worked at a tulip farm in Washington.
The kids loved working with him.
The farm created a yellow tulip to remember him. It's called Ethan Smiles.
His smile was just amazing.
Oh, so cute.
He always smiled.
He did.
All the time.
And Jim and Stacy say Ethan was in love. Tell us what you want to share about that relationship.
We were blessed to spend the summer with Xana. The most important thing I think that people should know is that Ethan was exactly where he wanted to be.
I love this part.
We say in our family he was in the right place at the wrong time.
Y'all lost it whenever she said that. I mean, it was just, she could be bitter, or, I mean, just, I'd say bitter, not even bitter, but some people are like, well, if you woulda, shoulda, coulda, woulda, shoulda, coulda, I shoulda did this, you shoulda did that. Why weren't, just all the things. We don't know why, but sometimes these things just, you're at the, what did she say? I'll get it wrong, right place at the wrong time.
Ethan was exactly where he wanted to be.
And that's with his girlfriend. He didn't live there, but he stayed a lot with Xana, his girlfriend, and he was at the right place at the wrong time, and some of these things are out of your reach. You can't touch them. There's nothing that you can do or could have done in that moment, in that space, that would have changed the trajectory of this. But we will sit there and time after time, I do, what if I would have, should have, could have, would have, I should have did this. Would it have changed the course? And I don't think so. I mean, some things, but I mean, I don't know. I really don't think at the end of the day, it's not what the victims did. It's not what any of us who really knew them. Um, I don't think it's anything that we did or could or didn't do, or I don't know how to explain that. But it just doesn't sound right, like you again, hindsight is 2020. And if you weren't there, you know, then it's so easy to say, well, you should have, would have, could have. Right? I mean, the hindsight though, you don't know what's coming. You have no idea what's coming. You have no idea what's happening, or what's going to happen. You don't know what's coming. I mean, it's a train coming straight for you, and it's about to run you over. And not even, nobody even notices. It's what it feels equivalent to, in my analogy. And you can't even find, you're so over. I don't remember an entire year. I still don't. I'm like, wait, did I file taxes? I mean, I talked about this yesterday. I don't remember filing taxes. I don't remember you just all these things, and I don't remember that part, and it's so traumatizing. The trauma is so overwhelming, and the grief, and just things that you didn't even know were an issue, because they hadn't reared their ugly head, um, in your own life, your own personal upbringing and your own life, your own experience in life. And then, okay, so where I've gone is down this spiritual, it's all I can liken it to is just this soul search. I didn't set out to find myself. That was not, I mean, that was not on my freaking radar. At that time, I thought you knew everything, you know what I mean? I was good. It wasn't a thirst for knowledge for myself. It was a thirst for knowledge for wanting the truth about what happened to Tylee and JJ and Tammy and Charles and Joe. It's because of them. And so I jumped in because you don't even think about that. It's just like, it reminds me of whenever my little boy, when he was little, and his friend Skylar, it was me and my girlfriend and her daughter Skylar, and I was pregnant with Ashlyn, big and pregnant. And we brought them to the neighbor's house where they had a pool, and Skylar and Zach were swimming, and they just started to get to the midway point of the in-ground pool. And I was just watching, and me and Lisa were talking though, and we were just, anyways, I was hyper focused on the kids, and they were in the dead center of the pool, and they started to go down, and I was like, I didn't even think. I mean, just it was just reaction. I jumped in, pregnant. Almost, I couldn't. Anyways, I was pushing the kids up, and because they were going down. And anyway, so I pushed them up, and I mean, all the while I'm about to drown myself, and anyways, got them to safety. And afterwards, I was just like, oh my God, my flip flops were floating on top of the pool. And Lisa was like, oh my God, girl, you, you were on that. And it's just a reaction. And so a knee jerk reaction. And I'm where I'm at today because of that same knee jerk response, the fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. I think that's back in a time when I used to actually not be in the freeze part. I stay a lot in the freeze part of the fight, flight, fawn, or freeze stages, of CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Well, And I mean, it's no fault of my own. It's just I don't know how to react, so I usually don't react. And if I don't react, then, you know, I don't know. It's not a reason why I do it. It's just that's what I do. And it can be really, really aggravating because some people may text me something or send me an email and they're wanting my response and I don't know how to respond. Like, or sometimes I feel like I don't have the mental, emotional capacity to deal with it or to even because I don't just I'm not I'm not surface level. There's a lot of depth to me. And whenever I'm talking to somebody or putting my energy into writing them back or responding to their question, I try to give them and probably way more than they even want, but it's just who I am. And I don't want to just give them a half-ass answer, or just a vague, generic, okay, thank you. Nothing like that. I want to just express it because I'm very expressive in my emotions. Anyways, so it kind of hinders me a lot, and I get frustrated with myself because I'm like, oh my God, can't you just freaking answer the damn question or or respond? Just be normal. I don't know what normal is, but anyways, it's just I want to give my all to it to them because they're taking it makes me want to cry because they're taking their time out of their busy lives to reach out to me. I wanna give back the same way? But anyway, so it's just something you feel like you can never repay. You want to, you know? Anyways. Ah. Anyway, I'm trying to get it. Let me play some more of this because it's what made me start feeling again. Unfortunately.
We say in our family he was in the right place at the wrong time. And, you just have to live with that.
Ethan's girlfriend, Xana Kernodle, lived at the King Road house.
They were very sweet together. That's where he stayed most nights. We all knew it. He's a college kid who was in love.
Stacy did something this year that surprised even her. She went to CrimeCon in Orlando, Florida.
There
I
is
love
a
this part.
huge national following of true crime in this nation. We happen to be at the epicenter of it. I was asked to sit on.
It's like we didn't seek this out, but here you are. And you can make a difference. Your voice, what you say, how you react, how you respond to people who are interested, it matters because you're not just speaking on behalf of you, you're speaking as a representative of the victims. And oh my God, it's an honor. And that part's not the burden. It's an honor. And you want to do it. I want to do it with integrity, with love, compassion, empathy, thirst for knowledge, and to know what went into this, what all factored into Chad and Lori and friends to make them go on this murderous rampage and just take out innocent people, allegedly for Chad, but take out innocent people, and not just any innocent people, but my family. And then my mom, you know, we come to learn that my mom was, which I mean, I was worried whenever it was all taking place. Are you being safe, Mom? Larry, are y'all okay? Do you have cameras? Just those things. Just are are there any measures that they took or whatever to ensure their safety? Because we didn't know. And it's like a domestic terrorist or something. It's so terrorizing. You don't know what they're capable of. You don't know who they are. Not in this situation, not in Chad Lori, because when the word cult was implied, I was just like, I don't even know what that encompasses. What does that even mean? You know? is so out there. And you're just like, "What?" And you hear, my uncle was just murdered. And so that all in itself is traumatizing, and it hurts, it's painful. And oh my god, but then you're worried about the kids, you're worried about what she's gonna do. If what the hell does this even mean? You're just trying to make sense of something that you have no freaking idea of what it's even about. You don't know their intentions. Was it just to knock off Uncle Charles to collect his life insurance? I mean, that's, in a lot of these cases, we learn that that's pretty much the motive, is for the money. But it's money and it's power and it's sex. Lindsay said it. It is about money, but it goes beyond because she didn't, Lori didn't benefit from collecting, well, a little bit, in the grand scheme, the life insurance policy was a quick payout, a big payout to collect on. And the kids, that just threw me, yes, through their, through JJ, being on Social Security, through the death of Charles, things like that, and through the death of Joe Ryan, for Tylee, and for Lori to collect off that. And I mean, that's petty. Not petty. That's, what do you call it? It is petty. It is petty because it's like, it's meticulous. It's, extra. It's just that extra ego where or entitlement that Lori had, that Chad has, in my opinion, that a lot of these people just become so brazen and just so plotting. I don't know how to say that. They're plotting, they're scheming, they're planning. I had known about, I don't know why Larry said that though. He said that, with Hidden True Crime, that the only people that knew was him and mom, because he must have forgot telling me, when we went to Rexburg, the first, what was Larry there? I remember him. This was for Lori's hearing when she became competent again in April of 2021. And he must not have remembered telling me. And I mean, yeah, it's hard to keep that. He thinks that Lori may have poisoned the fruit salad, and anyways, but it's just something you don't share. It's not my story to tell, and I knew that when the time was right, he would tell it, and, there's that. That's his story. But anyway, but you start factoring all these things. You're going back and you're checking your own your own timeline, like, "Oh, what about this time, when she said this or when that happened?" Or, there's times that I didn't remember right away that were about, things that Uncle Charles said that stood out now, but not instantly, not when all these things started occurring. It came out and I was like, "Oh, I forgot about that." I forgot about how whenever Uncle Charles came in with JJ and Lori wasn't with them this one time, this particular time. I don't know when exactly, but Uncle Charles brought JJ, and for the first time, they brought my nephew, JJ, to meet his dad, Todd, my brother. Okay, that's my mom's other child. There's me and my brother, and anyways, and for the first time, I got to see my brother interact with his baby, um, which is both beautiful and it's sad. It's beautiful and it's sad. Because you see so many of the same mannerisms and, personality traits, and it's beautiful. But it's also painful because of, you know, of the dynamics of it, because Lori and Charles adopted JJ. And my brother lost his son once at that time. And then knowing what we know now, he lost him again. And I just think that's devastating. That's devastating. Um Anyways, so there's a lot of trauma behind that too. Um Anyways, so Uncle Charles had, and I mean, I don't know if Lori agreed to it. I didn't ask. That's not me. I'm not like, well, what are your motives for this? I don't sit there and drill somebody, not my monkeys, not my circus. I probably said that backwards too. But anyways, I just tried to enjoy the moment because it was beautiful. And Uncle Charles was wanted to, bring JJ over to meet my mama Trahan, and y'all know I adore her. Y'all know I do. And I mean, just that that's her great grandson, JJ was. And just to see the different generations, there and representing, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful memory. But so as we're walking out of my mama Trahan's house, Uncle Charles, and I didn't remember this till years later, or I mean, years after they were murdered. I remember him, kind of turning back to look at me as we're walking. We're all walking out of the door, leaving, and he's like, "Lori, um, wait, how do you say it? Lori just needs to be needed." And I was just like, it didn't mean nothing at the time. It didn't mean a damn thing. I was just like, okay. And I was like, well, I need to be needed. I like to be needed too. I think we all do. But that was about it. And then years later it surfaces and I'm like, I forgot about that. And then it stands out because yeah, she needed to be needed, all right. But she also needed, them for her own selfish gain or whatever. Anyways, so there's a lot that goes into this, and it's layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of emotional, spiritual, mental, financial, um, I mean, all the things. It checks the box, and you're doing this work in the background, so to speak, but it's in the forefront in your own life, but to everybody else, all outsiders, it's the background. You don't see this part. I usually, uh, don't come on here and I'm like, "Woo-hoo," I don't work through my feelings in public or around anybody else for that matter. It's something you do internally and within, and then you just try to make sense of what this means. How do I deal with it? Where do I put that? How do I heal from this? How do I repair it or not? How do I just deal with it and come to a good point where I'm just like I'm okay with it, or is there something more there that I need to continue to work on or look into? So, and I mean, I've not been to one counselor. I've not been to therapy. I can't afford it. And um I'm not independently wealthy. I'm poor as all get out. I'm just saying, I'm just being honest with you. I I'm just saying it for transparency, like it's me. I'm being real. And this has been the most valuable thing I've ever done and helpful thing I've ever done was to start this channel and go through this journey and share my journey, my justice through understanding, my difficult research into the murders, into my family's deaths. My mom was on their hit list. That bothers me. I mean, who's to say that they were going to stop there? They were going to work on Rhonda. Rhonda is my mom. Rhonda is K is my mom. And here's Lori. It's like a personal attack. You can view it like that, like you're going to sit here and you're going to pluck 3 family members, just pluck, 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 and just remove them from my family. No, bitch. No. And then my mom, I mean, so where was this going to stop? And so you don't know. It is personal. I take it personal because you didn't just F with Tylee, Charles, and JJ. No, no. You effed with my whole family. You brought hurt and pain into my family and into our lives that were already complicated. Everybody's complicated already. Um, in all family dynamics and makeup, it's just the way it is. Nobody is perfect. And for anybody to project that onto anybody else is just they're unhappy with that in themselves. That's my view of it. It's projection. And things that I'm unhappy with and within myself is something that I'm gonna project onto others. That's how I look at it, and that's what I've seen time after time after time after time researching into Tylee, not Tylee, into Lori and Chad and friends. Tim Ballard. It is just like, okay, I've identified that pattern, that behavioral pattern, and it's so interesting to watch it just play out. I don't like it. I didn't know it was playing out, but just to when you read over the case and the accusations and everything, for Tim Ballard and then the case with Lori and Chad, and the case with Frankie and Hildebrandt, and the case with Hamblin and Bowen and David Levitt. When you look into all those different facets, you see or those different cases, you see the same like-minded behavior, and I'm not trying to coin anything. I don't know what else to call it. I'm not a freaking psychotherapist. I'm not credentialed at all, but I am experienced, and this is my experience. Through this experience, I'm gaining more experience, you know? And so, they don't give you I don't think they have classes on how to deal with your family being murdered. I don't think there's you know what I mean? This is something that they don't teach, and there is no guidebook or, pamphlet. There's just websites, and there's people, interactions, comment sections, forums and stuff where you go and you just try to get a better understanding on how to handle something. Uh, School of Hard Knocks, I don't know what to call it. Anyway, so and the whole point of that is just to get justice through understanding, because through my experience and going through this, there is no perfect justice system. Having the perpetrators locked away gives you a sense of security, gives you a sense of justice, but it does not at all make this go away. It does not make the pain go away. It doesn't make the victims come back. It doesn't breathe life back into them. It doesn't right the wrongs. It's something that Chad and Lori have to pay for, and anybody else who's found guilty in a court of law. It's something that they have to do on their own, but on this side of it, you're still like, but I don't feel like justice is served. I don't feel like the police departments did I don't think they convicted and or indicted uh, enough people. I I don't, and I don't feel bad for saying that. Used to, people would shame me, for, well, you're just grieving. You're just, you got something out for the church, or there's some motive or something. And I'm just like, why would I want to what would I gain out of taking a church down, a whole church by myself? I'm not Tim Ballard on a sex trafficking, op. I didn't take down and save 5 million kids by myself. That is not me. I'm not here to save anybody or do anything. I'm just here to shine the light on the very dark places that were not vetted out all the way, that were not investigated all the way, in my opinion. There's a lot of shady stuff that happens. And why, if I were to bring it up, it would probably piss some people off. I know it would. And some people are just so dead set and I'm sorry, Yeah, dead set on a conviction, you know? But they're not thinking about how people are going about things to bring on that conviction. It's not right. Like, it just doesn't weigh out right in my mind, and how I see it. Everybody may see it differently. Everybody will see it differently. How I think that, um, there's involvement and there's, these very blurred, um, ecclesiastical relationships, that weren't first off, I didn't know how that even worked, I didn't know, how that lays out, but I've learned since then how these things are supposed to go, and the chain of command, so to speak, and what a ward clerk even means in the church of Latter-day Saints, I didn't know what that means. And so some people look at it as an attack on their religion. Some people look at me as an attack on their church. Some people look at me as an attack on whatever. I don't know. And it's just it is what it is. You can't change it. It's just like, well, here's this picture. So why is this playing out like this? And so I don't know. And I told Jason about this last night. I was like, there's just something there, or I would not be circling the damn drain like I do. There's something there. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to locate that so we can fix that. I don't whatever happens from that, I have no freaking say so over. All I can do is call it out. I can expose it. And that is, in my opinion, the only way that I have found as a family member of Charles, Tylee, and JJ's to shine a light on the rest of their story, on the things that some people aren't concerned with. And it doesn't affect them, but it affects me in the sense that I look at it as the very same people that hurt them and killed them are the very same people that are carrying out carrying out the justice in the case to them, to the victims. And to me, it's wrong. It's so I don't even know how to explain that. It's so they don't have the best interest, in my opinion. Not when they have the same system, not when they believe the same way, not when they have the same beliefs, not when they have uh-uh. The only interest, it seems to me, was keep the church out of it. Protect the church. And bullshit. I'm saying you protect the children. You protect the victims or the potential victims or whatever. You protect the people, not the corporation. And it's so warped and gross. And I didn't know any of that until going through this process. Anyways, let me continue, or we'll never get through.
On a panel and talk about the great things that can come from tragedy. I actually got to meet with a group of, 24 victims' families, that are kind of in a similar national spotlight. But I was curious if there was some support,
Here.
kind of a support group there.
A kind of a support group there. I was like, oh my God, that would be such a good idea. I veered away from looking into a nonprofit organization because of all the things that all these people around Chad and Lori, Sam Ballard, all the nonprofit organizations, all the way up to the M. Russell Ballard, who was an apostle. He's in the church hierarchy, okay? And I mean, his alleged involvement with slave stealers and how that's funneled and that's money laundering and it's wrong. And I'm just like, I mean, I backed away from the whole nonprofit thing. I was trying to read more into it, research more into it, so I'd know what to do and how to do it. I too want to honor the lives and the legacies of Charles, Tylee, and JJ, and Tammy and Joe. It just threw me though, because I'm like, why are all these people mishandling these nonprofits? And I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna have to come back to that because that's weird. Something's going on with that. And so, anyways, again, I still don't even know. I know I can speculate and say that in general, I don't believe that everybody handles nonprofit organizations criminally. I can't say they're all bad. That's not how that works. You know, I know that there are some good ones out there, but you got to weed those through. You got to weed through them so that you can learn for yourself, right? And then not do what they're doing, because then why are we here? What is the point then? Do it the right way. Okay? Or you're not honoring them fully. It's you're helping somebody else pad their pocket. And I'm a little fed up with people profiting off of our pain and their deaths. And it's so it's a fine line, you know? It's definitely worth studying for years and years and years.
I happened to be walking by when they were doing the Idaho session. They were doing a question and answer. There were some things that weren't quite right.
See? And she's like, there were some things that weren't quite right. And so she's talking about Joseph Scott Morgan. And there are always some things that just aren't quite right. You know, you don't know unless she happened to be there, right there on spot. She got to go and voice exactly what she knew about the case, right? And maybe right some misunderstandings, because things can eventually evolve, and then it's not the truth of why her son was murdered. It doesn't give any it's not all in truth. So it's like, I sound like freaking Jody Hildebrand. I don't mean to. And distortion, right? Anyways, but it's not telling the true story of her son and the other victims if it's twisted or um or to suit somebody else's whomever else's what do you call it, narrative, or for their benefit. Because people do twist the truth. I mean, again, I'm not trying to be offensive, but through my experience, I've learned that I think that's exactly what has happened with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's just it's just like a little twist, and then it just unraveled, and here we are, where up is down, down is up, in is out, up. It's just backwards. Christ is Satan, and Satan is Christ. Okay? That's so twisted. And so it's not at all the truth. It's not the true story. I want the real story, you know? Anyways, so she goes in and she corrects them. And so, anyways, I thought that was interesting.
Session. They were doing a question and answer. There were some things that weren't quite right. And I thought, well, here's my chance.
My name is Stacy Chapin.
I love this.
And I'm Ethan's mom.
You could have heard a pin drop in that room.
I can speak on behalf of my own son, who was an incredible human.
How did it feel to do that?
Actually, it felt quite empowering.
And we miss him all terribly.
She just can't hold it back.
I have no problem reminding people that there is a real family and a son, or, people behind these stories.
Did you know you had all this strength in you?
Not this kind of strength.
The Chapins say they will not be at the upcoming trial.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That is the way they are choosing to deal with these tragedies and their loss. I commend them, you know.
There that's going to bring Ethan back. So we decide to take the positive energy and use it somewhere else.
It took one of our kids, right? It just can't sink the rest of our family. And that's how we decided to take it. It's a choice.
And my view is, you know, they took our family. They took our family members. They can't take anything else like that. I mean, you just really can't hurt us too much more. Or Imma speak for myself. You can't hurt me much more. You pretty much you did it, you know? And I mean, I know there's always, well, yeah, oh, yeah, you can be hurt much more. There's always more pain, you know? So it's not in a cocky sense. It's just in this context, Chad and Lori took people that we love, and there's nothing that we can do that will change the course of this, like she just said. And it's just how you respond is the only thing that you have in this. It's the only thing that we have as human beings is how we respond to somebody else's actions, or you know what I mean? Do we fuel the fire? Do we get anything out of this? I want to know the details, but then we're not even getting all the details. And it just sucks because it's an injustice to the victims, in my opinion. So that's my interest in it, is I want to know more. I want to know as much as I can because it's the rest of their story. It is their story. It's their voices. They're not here to verbalize these things. I'm just here to just kind of, I'm their biggest cheerleader, you know? I'm here to evoke or to bring the rest of the truth out, you know? I'm here to poke whatever I got to poke and whomever I got to poke in order to draw these things out. Exposure. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, you know?
The Chapins were at the fraternity for the presentation of the first ever Sigma Chi Ethan Chapin Memorial Scholarship.
It's an endowed scholarship. They raised $125,000, and it is a $5,000 scholarship that will be given to this chapter every year forever.
To be able to give the first Ethan Chapin Memorial Scholarship Award.
The recipient tonight is Hunter. He is receiving the first memorial scholarship of Ethan's, and that's pretty special.
How does it feel to know that Ethan will live on forever here?
It's amazing.
On the wall in that beautiful award.
I know. It's amazing.
It is. He'll be watching.
What do you want his legacy to be?
It's going to be scholarshiping kids. I mean, it's honestly any kid, any dream in Ethan's name. It's the very, very best that we can do for him.
Hunter and Maisie will one day help to carry that legacy on. For now, they're focusing on healing and just being college students.
We have protected them at all costs. Really, for the most part, they are completely insulated here at the university, and that's the best place for them. We were a great family before, and we have to go on and continue to be that.
And you are that.
We are.
Ethan will always be a part of that.
If the world lived life like Ethan, it would be a better place.
He's a good kid, and we miss
He
him
was a good
dearly.
kid. He genuinely was one of a kind. You just get to a point where you have to make a decision to
Move on.
carry on.
Anyways, and so you try to do so to the best of your ability, in honor of them and representative of them, who they were, what they brought to this world, and what the perpetrators did to remove their light from the world. It's all we can do as surviving family members who did not ask for this to happen. It was nothing. It was not anything that we did to these people in order for them to just go beast mode and take out people. Nobody has that right, and that's why it's illegal. Anyways, it's sad, and it's nonsensical. It's stupid. Okay, it's stupid. And so I need to go check the chat. I know, I'm sorry. I've just been talking back here That way I don't get distracted. Hey, Carrie Ann. Yeah, the trial is where you get so much of the story. Yeah, I agree. But then not really. And I'm like, well, but we have Chad's trial, that is happening later than Lori's. Lori's was last year now, 2023. Hey, Moonlight View. And so now it's like, I've done this and I've seen other people comment about this where they're like, well, maybe they're saving the rest of it, the rest of the story, for Chad's. We hope. If not, we gotta just be like, okay with it because let's just say that Lori and Chad happened already. They were convicted. Let's say that was behind us. And with what they brought out, would we, how would you feel? Would you be satisfied with the information that was brought out? I don't. I don't feel satisfied at all. I was just like, well, it's so overwhelming that you can't even back away from it at that time. You can't back away from it because, again, it's like being sucker punched over and over and over again, repeatedly with new information. And you're trying to process that in the middle of your own losses. My uncle was murdered. My mom's brother was murdered. My stepdad, his brother-in-law, that was his brother-in-law. And then that's their grandson. And then it's just all these things. And so it just is crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, so how come some people have to carry on being so, I don't know. I think that's something that being so bitter and lashing out at others who are hurt too. It's like it could be in their own pain or in their own, they're beating themselves. I don't know. Something within though, I think. Something within. That's the only way we would I think. I'm not a professional, not an expert, don't have any licenses, okay? But I mean, so somebody can be so bitter, so kind of like Lori and Chad. Well, how can they murder, and I think it's just things that people are so unhappy with within themselves. Like Lori doesn't know love. Chad doesn't know love because they showed that. They projected that onto their victims. And I really do think that that's what happens is people are that or they're just so short-sighted. I don't know why. Misery loves company. Know that. Yeah. It is a defense mechanism too. Yeah, they're afraid of getting hurt more. Yeah, thank you for that. That is so very true. I mean, it's like the bully becomes or bully was once the victim in that kind of sense where the victim, as the victim of a bully, he was hurt. He was being hurt. But then the victim becomes the bully, and then he inflicts the pain on the next victim, who then will become the bully, and so on and so forth. And it's like, okay, well, you got to stop that cycle somewhere. You got to break that chain because it's very unhealthy. And I've done it myself where I've been the more dominant one in the relationship, and then the next relationship, not so much. And it's just like this weird, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure things out. And the church has not, you're right. The church has not let the whole story out. In fact, I'm working on a way to kind of present it where, again, it's going to piss people off. Maybe. I don't really know. I feel like that's about the only time. And it's not like an intentional, I'm coming after you, It's like, no, but this happened. And then the church sent out letters to this ward that would affect that jury pool. That is obstruction of justice, in my opinion, or it could be. It's worth looking into, though. it's worth looking into, though. Hurt people, right? Jen told me that was one of the she's like, "When you said that," she was like, it resonated with me. We were talking about Julie Rowe, and I was like, "Hurt people, hurt people." And that thank you, Denise, yeah. They brought the church into this. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. Definitely brought the church into they brought the church into this. It's like, I know that the church didn't I can't hold the church, they're not on the murder trial. They're not in a they're not, uh, on trial. But in a sense, they are. Because what you practice and preach and teach is right here. These are the fruits of this. And there's a level of responsibility and culpability in that. Mine's not to, send anybody to freaking prison. I mean, what that's on them. You know what I mean? Mine is just to point out all the things that failed or factored into the thought process of my family being murdered. And then that way we can get to the root of the problem. Once we get to source or the root of the problem is the only way we can begin to correct some things or to put in some kind of public service announcement where people can be aware of these things and look out for these things for whenever the prepper, which I don't like all that the labels. I mean, they're helpful, but labeling them and not looking beyond that is problematic. It's problematic in itself. I think you got to go and do your own research. To everybody, everybody's got to do their own research and come to their own conclusions on things. And so it just isn't a blanket statement or a blanket way to behave or a blanket anything. It's just, I don't know. And of course it's up for interpretation, it's everybody's going to look at something different and be like, well, I mean, I don't have any specifics right now, but I mean, it just goes all in with this thing. Like, I went back the other day and I looked at some posts on Facebook from whenever the case was unraveling, whenever Lori had not been arrested yet, but had been located in Hawaii. Okay. And all the comments in Facebook were, oh my God, it was public outrage, and rightfully so. I mean, that's all you wonderful people, who rallied around and were like, what the hell am I seeing? Why is that mother acting like that? But then I forgot totally. I forgot about people being angry with Rexburg PD for not going or Fremont or whatever. One of them or both of them, I don't know. And I mean, we don't know what's going on in the investigation as the public, and so we don't know. It's easy for us to be like, go get them, but then, I mean, so I was just reading people's comments and I was just like, oh my God, or I remember this one, but oh my God, this person right here just commented so many times and was saying some really insightful things, that I've learned through this whole process, but I didn't know what this was yet, anyways. But anyway, it is so very interesting, all the same. Hey Soulseye, how are you? It just seems like people suffering the same it just seems like people suffering the same horrible hurt would feel better to comfort each other. One would think, not blame and hurt causing even more pain. I know. And it sucks though when some people do that, and it's like a level of entitlement even sometimes, like I don't really know. I'm sure I've done it down somewhere in my life, but that's not really how I try to handle it. I want to be constructive. I don't want to be destructive. I don't want to bring pain on anybody. That's why I've tiptoed the line so many times and for so long over here. I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And then I'm like, there's so many days when I'm just like, you know what? Just say it. Just say it, and people can take it how they. There's nothing I can do that will stop them from um, thinking I'm persecuting them. Okay, that is something that you will see, that you did see, if you kind of are aware of it. How this pattern of behavior with Lori, how the whole Munchausen thing, okay? If that is the truth, if that is what Lori did it for, if she made Tylee sick in order to make herself feel better, to make herself important, to make herself relevant, to get attention, to be Lori, um, it's wrong. You don't go that way to do those things. If you do good and whatever, it's just like wanting to be accepted, you know? It's just like a validation, acknowledgement. There was a time, you know, for a long time where kids were meant to be seen, not heard. Um, and then now in this age, this era, you know, we have all the electronics and we put them in front of our children as babysitters, and it's temporary. You don't think it's harmful, but it is, because you're still removed. You're still removed from the situation, and you're not engaging with our children. We're not engaging with our children. Some of us, I'm just saying, myself included. I'm just saying. Um, yeah. Uh, hold on, I've got to back up. Let's see. Okay, Faye Forrest says, my heart is fearful for a relative in hospital at the moment. Oh my goodness. A minor whose parent has isolated them to point of hospitalization 6 hours away from us. It's a dire circumstance I feel utterly powerless in. I'm so sorry that's happening to your family, or to you and to them, to the family member. You know, mm, I don't really have any advice for that besides we're here, you know, you can vent here. But oh man, I don't know. I'm one of those people, I've got to sit there and think about it. I've got to filter through that so I can even wrap my head around the situation. Yeah. I hope I hope they're okay. Denicia says it would be so easy for the LDS Church, knowing how much PR they have, to come out with a basic quote, "These murders got our doctrine wrong," unquote. Easy, but staying silent doesn't make sense. Why? Because, and this is from my research, because it is their doctrine, and it's goes hand in hand with that double speak, and where they can both claim and deny at the same time, and it's very confusing to people. Yeah, it's very confusing to people, and again, I look at the church as if it is a narcissistic father, because it's patriarchal, right? So, and what it does, if you just look at it from that perspective, it like pits all its children, okay, all its members, against one another. And then there's this whole tattletale system, and you got the Melanie Gibbs, who's the gossip, you know, and she likes to tattle on people. And you got Jim Archibald straight up coming out and calling Ian a snitch. I mean, it's just, oh my good Lord. And so then you have the flying monkeys who are on behalf of the narcissistic father, parent, or whatever. They go and they infiltrate. I'll use Tim Ballard's word. But they come in and they just come for information, just to run back and snitch. To It's so toxic. And it's so toxic, and it's a lot to absorb, or to have to wade through in my own self, you know, and I'm just like, good night. Some crazy stuff. And it's not my crazy, but you got to go through it to figure out what's going on here. I've seen it time and time again, though. That's pattern. That is just typical. Okay. A lot of people are saying, "Sorry, Faye. Sorry to hear that, Faye." Janelle says, "Some people can comment and be so mean because they lack the full understanding." That's ignorance, right? Just speaking out of ignorance. I've done that so many times and I'm not done, I'm sure. So it's never because I'm never like, "Oh, I'm coming at you." Like it's not a full-on witch hunt. It's a want to understand, a need to understand, and this is where we're at. I mean, we have this platform, we have these platforms nowadays where we didn't have that back in the day, and so this is social networking, and so many people come in with their own egos and their own we don't know them. We don't know besides, just kinda getting a better understanding of your personality through the comments you make, That's how I learn about each one of you who, you know what I mean, don't have a channel or have no way of me learning more. Um, and so you get a general consensus of, like, people's personalities, how they think, how they feel, because they express that. And so many times we are ignorant. I see it all the time. I'm sure I don't know everything, and I'm not even about to pretend I do. I don't wanna know everything. Um, I really don't. Nah, I just wanna know enough. Um, but yeah, people definitely, um, come in guns a-blazing, and you're like, "What? Do you even know what you're talking about?" Are we or do we see the same thing, It's just like, "Okay." Yeah, it's like they just take it at word value and then go on and repeat that, and that's just as dangerous as anything else, right? It also helps spread disinformation and things like that. Hey, and people are often so isolated to help. I've isolate myself, okay? And so a lot of people, I'm assuming, maybe go and experience the same thing. It's a protection thing too, because I'm like, well, if they can't get to me, then I'm safe. But we're not safe from our own selves, our own minds, our own thoughts. Um, so it's not a healthy way to handle it. You heard it here. Lisa Hayes says, I have an observation about Tylee and the interview with the police after Charles was shot. I think that interview was mishandled because they didn't tell Tylee the outcomes. Oh, that is interesting. That is so interesting. Beautiful. I mean, it's amazing insight. That's what I'm saying. Y'all are so freaking smart. And y'all bring so many different things to the table that are appreciated. Some are not easy to hear, but I mean, it's the truth of the matter sometimes, a lot of times. And, you gotta hear hard things, to get to the bottom of things. That's why, I used to get really, like, not offended, but I guess, what do you call it? Defensive whenever I would go into chat rooms on channels like, uh just some people not wanting to talk about the religion factor in this, and you can't separate the 2. They're one and of the same. In my opinion, you can't, because it is their very beliefs, their thought process is just the same. From their belief, it's you can't separate them. It's built in. It's they were raised up in it. This is what they know from their own experience, living it out in life. It influences everything. Everything. Again, if a commercial can prompt you to go buy a hamburger and french fries and a shake, chocolate, or whatever, because of what time they advertise, when they advertise it, just things like that. My grandparents owned a mom and pop. I call it a mom and pop shop, but it was a convenience store that had been around in the lake area here where I live for 50 years, 50 years. And, you learn how to, by growing up in that atmosphere, I learned how to engage with people and do the small talk, wait on customers, be, friendly, serve them, customer service, and make it pleasurable where they will come back, and prompt, so because people will just want to get in and get out. And so I wasn't very good. I'm still not good with small talk. I'm just not. I'm like, uh-huh. It it just doesn't interest me, but that's just me. So I don't know. That helped me develop those social skills, where I can just say, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And I mean, at least acknowledge people when they do walk in and things like that. But um so, where you would place candy bars, right there at the counter where let's say the adult is paying for whatever their items. And then they usually have children with them. So if you put the candy bars down, you're not going to put liquor well, you could because it's still at the front of the store. But just saying, where the cash register is, where you're checking them out, you want to put the things that are, well, like Walmart, they do the things where it's like impulse buying, right? Oh, I need super glue and a lighter. It's those anyways. And it's just some people are anyways. And so we're influenced by those just placement of things where they're at. So can you imagine the thoughts and the beliefs and the teachings and then the conversations with the same like-minded people and their spin on it, how they view it. It's social networking like this on the internet, but it's in real life. And so, it's not a video game, but that is so interesting though, Lisa. So I actually have been watching, I found this other channel, y'all, and it's called Mind Shock. And I was just they put an amazing I want to play it, but a bunch of clips of Zalema, all the interviews, Melanie Gibb, Lori, Adam, Alex's ex-wife, just all those things. And it's nothing from the new stuff, nothing from the stuff we've learned at trial. So if y'all want to go through that, I would love to. Let me switch cameras, I think. Yeah. And so I want to give credit to Mind Shock. Y'all, I'll copy and paste the link in the comments down below. I subscribed, but anyway, so this was 2 weeks ago, and so it's long though. I'm just letting you know. It's from 4503 to right about here 138. So I don't know. I haven't subtracted that to find out how long that is, but anyways, I want to share it.
Priesthood power, which she believes she had the patriarchal power, which was higher than the Melchizedek power.
It's interesting.
Okay. Sorry if this is confusing. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm following. He's following you.
I'm patient. And so, Arizona, Utah, Idaho.
She looks like a crackhead.
And then she's like, okay, Chad says, and she'd be on the phone. How many zombies in this state?
Me.
She called him by name.
Me.
I knew she was talking to him.
How'd you know he was talking to him?
Oh, I just did. I mean, I don't know. I knew it. And Chad would help groom her into these beliefs and ideas. He would help her believe more and more, like, you're the most powerful woman in the world. Right?
So I understand that Lori's your sister, and obviously I was assigned the death investigation. I'm just trying to get, I guess, any type of insight that you might have.
Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah, there's a lot there. About maybe a year or two ago, Lori started reading some books and near-death experience books, and started saying some weird things. Some of those things were that she, talks to Jesus in the temple, and she's married to Moroni, and she's not married to Charles anymore. she has a higher priesthood than the rest of us, and just some things that were alarming to me.
My thing is, and I don't want to stop this a lot. I didn't want to stop it at all, but I can't help it. I just, how would this, how would everybody feel if they knew that it wasn't from Chad's books, that it wasn't from anything that Lori sought out to do, or, I mean, I don't think, or Chad sought out to do, but they were coupled up. They were paired up. They were matched and went through either, I don't care how you got to put it in your terms, but I think in a ceiling in the temple for what it's worth, no, by somebody, somewhere, and it was intentional. It was intentional to pair these two up, and then wonder why. What's their motive? What is their motive? It's just, I want you to try and maybe look at it from that view. And then maybe you can see where I'm going, with all this. Not today, but where I go in all this in my research, where it's led me to. It's nuts.
And this is my brother and sister, and I love them with all my heart. But I'm telling you, there's something wrong about Lori and Alex.
This is the other thing. Okay, so from researching the Hamblin case and all that SRA, which is satanic ritual abuse, what they're doing is, and they all have a lot of, and I'm not making this shit up. I wish I was. I hope to be proven wrong. Okay. Really. It's freaky. Tim Ballard has some high connections in the CIA, and so does David Hamblin, and so did David Hamblin's dad, Robert Hamblin, and they are actual stories. David Hamblin himself being a Mormon therapist who is accused of raping and using his practice via the Mormon church, who was referring people to his practice to split people, to make them have dissociative identity disorder. So, and what he calls it is his parts theory. Okay. That's what he called, quote unquote, parts theory. And so that is so that they have to compartmentalize their minds and everything. And because what they're doing is they're breaking your personality. That's their intention, is to break it so that you have all these little compartments of, let's say they, and I mean, this is an actual court documents from the victim statements of the Hamlin case, where he says, okay, if he says Tabitha, which Lori did tell me one time when they were going to adopt JJ's half sister. Thank God that didn't go through. She said she wanted to name her Tabitha. I don't think it's relevant here, but I'm just saying it's so weird. I'm just like, oh Lord. Well, anyways, so if Hamblin would say Tabitha, then his daughter that he broke her personality, because he's a freaking he's not just a therapist. He's got connections to the CIA. Anyways, so it summons all of Tabitha's characteristics out, not not Rachel Hamblin, but Kate. I mean, not Kate. Oh my God, not. Let me get it. Not Rachel Hamblin, but her part within her that he has broken off into small compartments. Okay, and so whenever he calls for Tabitha, Rachel will access Tabitha. Tabitha will come out. And I say come out, in her personality disorder. And then she does all the things, the sexual perversion things that those people want, those people who are into this programming shit. It's so gross. But anyways, it goes down to how Alex and Lori were in their and the retelling, or the telling of the witness accounts, about how their behaviors together were inappropriate. It reminds me of the Frankie children and what was happening there. That's what that's exposing in that case. They are training their kids or they pay people to train their kids, like Jody Hildebrandt, like David Hamblin. They actually this is what they do. They, oh my God, I just went blank. Oh my God, I hate it too. It's called exploit. They exploit their children in this manner. And so it makes me question, what was Ruby Frankie and Kevin Frankie? Did they seek Jody Hildebrandt out, or were they referred to her through the church to break their children? Mainly mainly E. These are the ones that actually got found, that got help and stopped this shit. But were they wanting Jody to break their children, to train their children? And so in the Hamlin case, there's this one instance where I forget the little boy's last name, Larson, I want to say. I'm probably wrong though, so don't quote me. But the little boy could have his way with his mom and his sisters, okay? And they would put him and his parents were there seeking for him, for David Hamlin to break their children, basically train their children to behave this way. Do you understand the perversions that are going on here? Okay. But what they have been taught in this religion, and at least with these this scope, I'm not looking at the big perspective. I know not everybody believes this way, but in this context, did this happen with Barry and Janice? Did they go through similar training and seek out somebody to break Alex so that he could have his way with his sisters and his mother? I'm just saying, I would just question. I don't know, but I mean, I ask questions. That's what I do. And I'm just like, I never would have gotten here on my own, without digging as deep as I have. I'm like, what kind of freaking world are we living in? But up is down is up. And that's this whole black magic thing. Okay. It's so interesting. It is so freaking interesting.
How did Alex talk about Lori?
Well, he was a really, really protective big brother, but he also talked about her being hot.
There's something with Lori and Alex.
And what is the emergency?
I shot my brother-in-law.
So those three are thicker than thieves, but I bet you Tylee could break if you got to her.
If there's something that they can help you and your daughter with, they can, or even JJ or whatever else.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I even thought about him.
Yeah. So
I mean, he's used to him not being there.
And some of those statements that you gave them don't match what you gave us the last time we talked.
This is interesting.
I don't remember, and I can't put it together. I can't not put it together.
Do you know at that point in time if there was any tension between Lori and Tylee?
There was always tension.
Was there?
When wasn't tension? I was like, hi, and she didn't even want to look at me. And so we were sitting there, and I just, just like try to put like Tylee's hair, women just do that kind of stuff. And I just pulled her hair off, and she was like,
one of our main objectives here is we are trying to block out demons.
Yeah.
I understand that.
And he contacted me, and I'm sure I should just briefly. Sure, I'd love to. And so she's very beautiful and made with their so-called past to help pass or something.
Okay, so
How it started was this. We were in Sulima's house, probably in January. I don't know how to remember the date other than I was trying to think of sequences,
Okay.
So there was Christina and Nicole. Remember them?
Mm-hmm.
And Serena was there. I was there. Sulema was there, and Lori was there. And maybe Sulema's daughter might have been in the house, but I don't remember. And so she was talking to everybody about that Charles was now had this evil spirit in him. Okay. And then Christina, she starts talking about something. This was all beyond me because I didn't do the energy work. I mean, I had energy work done to me before, but I don't know how to do it. A lot of the wording that they use, which I can't recall all of it, but it had to do with features that they learned from energy work. And they came up with this stuff. I did not come up with it because I didn't know. I didn't even know what to say about any of it.
Did they come up with it? Or did Lori assign them something?
No, at first they talked about it as a group. They were like, well, what can we do? And it seemed like Christina started bringing it out first, actually.
When we were there for that girls' weekend, that was the first time we did. She explained the casting out things. And she asked us each to like, it's kind of like we got in a circle and she asked each of us to be part of that prayer or say something to help cast out. And so we each took a turn saying something like, and sometimes calling on elements, because we each have like different gifts. Just like you're really good at basketball and you might be really good at hockey, right? The same thing applies spiritually too. We can have different spiritual gifts. And so she asked like for me to be in charge of water. And for me, that meant like using water, calling down water. God used water to help form this world, and calling down that water and using water to help like cleanse, because it's a very cleansing agent. Basically, I thought we were just casting out, getting rid of those zombies or evil spirits.
Just kind of walk us through what you would say. Like if it got to your turn, what you would say to cast out these evil spirits.
Well, it's very similar to what we're taught in the Bible. So in the name of Jesus Christ, I ask for, and you can ask for things when you pray. I ask for the element of water to come, water in the heavens above and the earth beneath. That's in the Exodus.
Then fast forward to spring, whenever those ladies were there. And at that time, she expressed concern about Charles. She felt like he was possessed.
We have Lori, Melanie, Serena, you,
My friend Nicole.
and Nicole. When you guys met, do you remember where you were at this meeting?
Yeah, Zulema's.
At Zulema's house. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me, how did you first meet Lori?
This is interesting.
You guys attend the same board.
We did. We were in the same ward. I really had very little to do with her. She was in primary. So my husband and my boys interacted with her, and they really liked her, thought she was great. We reached out on a Sunday and went over and visited them. So that was really my first interaction with her one-on-one. And then we went down to the beach, I think a day or two later.
You just seen Lori or the family?
No,
okay.
Actually, it was just Lori and my family. And then a couple years later.
Listen to this and tell me how odd this is.
Would have been 2018. I saw her in the temple a couple times. Probably in December before she was off to Hawaii, or I have no idea even when she went. But she showed up at my door, and my husband was unemployed at the time. And she handed me an envelope, and it had a couple $1,000 in it. She's like, I was in the temple today. I'm thinking about you guys, know that, you don't have any income, and I just want you to have this. And left. That's probably the last time I seen her.
So Lori just shows up at her door with cash, and her husband, Christina's husband, was unemployed at the time. And Lori had been at the temple, showed up with an envelope of cash with thousands of dollars in it, and just gave it to her. That don't sound right.
After she came back.
Well, let me back up to when I first met her to help you understand how I got involved with her. Jason Mou's the one that introduced me to her.
So Jason introduced Melanie to Lori.
He met her in the temple and said, hey, there's like-minded people that are spiritual, da-da-da. Here's Melly's information.
Am I getting drug into this?
It's, I think, more of a long life to not.
Yeah. Jason, did he tell you what's happening to me?
This is where Jason does the typical like-minded behavior pattern thing where they take on and then they to diffuse or to deflect their own responsibility or culpability in it, they deflect and do this whole victim, they play victim or this persecution complex. Okay.
Online and the social media because of all this?
I would tell you that I kind of keep track of that on my own just by being involved in the case. I know that you've taken a hammering on it.
Yeah.
So, and I feel bad for you. I truly do. I don't. I think it's probably undeserved.
I mean, they got wanted posters out for me. Some of these wingnuts. They're canceling my shows.
Why? He worked for the church. He works for the church. He's a seminary teacher. How are we canceling his shows? It's projection and deflection. And it alters things. It the perception.
Don't. I think it's probably undeserved.
I mean, they got wanted posters out for me. Some of these wingnuts. They're canceling my shows. They're messing with my employment.
So we're the wing nuts. We're the bad guys.
I mean, they try to get my books canceled.
Yeah. I didn't know
I've had some bad memories in this.
I did not know that.
I believe she used the word incompetent more than else.
Sorry. Oh, how much contact did you ever have with Lori? Did you ever have contact with Chad?
Maybe 3 times in my life.
With Chad?
They minimize things.
Yeah.
Was it just at these conferences?
Yeah, he was a guest on my podcast and at the conferences.
How'd you meet Lori? Seems like I might know, but
I don't remember who it was, but I was actually in the LDS temple in Gilbert.
He was at the LDS temple in Gilbert.
And as I passed by, what was told to me was Lori said, "That's the guy that wrote those books about wrong." Yeah.
So Lori points at him and is like, "Ooh, that's the guy."
Oh,
Writes the books.
And, Lori wanted to meet him.
And Lori wanted to meet him. Why?
So said hi, shook hands, all that stuff, and that's how we met. And then she was in the large circle of people that I knew through doing my podcast and my speaking and stuff. And that's the acquaintance that I had with her.
But I haven't seen him do any podcasts with anybody else really outside of the circle. Have you? It's just something I want to know.
And she was friends with Melanie. She became friends with Melanie.
Because according to Melanie Gibb, because Jason introduced her to Melanie. Jason introduced Lori to Melanie. I'm just trying to figure this out.
And then she was a recurring guest on the podcast.
Okay. So, I mean, we've heard that podcast. I don't have it in this video. I will once I can edit this. I'll add it in what I can. I'll add in what I can.
So she meets me and she hears me talking a little bit because I'm doing something for a steak event. It was really normal and good. And
She was doing something normal and good for a steak event that she was preparing for.
she was just so excited to meet me. She was bringing the story about all her trials and they sounded.
Why would she go to Melanie that Jason introduced, Lori to Melanie? Why would she then go to Melanie and just start unloading on her about all her trials? I mean, are they hitmen? I mean, what are these? What anyways.
Genuine to me. I did not think she would. I don't think people are manipulating. That's one of my weaknesses.
Mm-mm.
I don't manipulate. I don't know how to.
And I don't trust anybody that says they don't know how to manipulate.
So she says, well, I've had these experiences and I know that I'm part of the 144,000.
So I'm in the club. I know I'm part of the 144,000 because I was told. Okay, that's Lori. I'm speaking as Lori. And so how does she know that? Who told her that? It's not something that she just titled herself as. I promise you that.
Lord sealed me his in the temple kind of thing. And I'm standing there and all of a sudden I get this like.
That or she's doing something like skewing the timeline because of Melanie and Jason and the introducing through Nicole and Christina. That is how Chad and Lori met and were matched up and were sealed in the temple. Okay. So I don't know if she's just jumping around or what. And why is she feeling heat all around her on her head? And Lori wasn't even around her. You know, what's really going on here through the Mormonese, you know?
Heat all over my head. And I'm like, what's that? So I said, Lori. She comes out. I said,
She comes
feel my
out.
head. And she goes, oh, it's happening. And I was like, yeah, it's really hot on top of, I didn't have a fever. Nowhere else on my body was hot.
Mm-mm.
And it wasn't because the sun was coming through. Wow, that's pretty awesome. You know, I'm thinking it's good. And so anyway, we go into a couple of different rooms, and I want to share too.
There's other stations in the temple that they go to. Remember, I told you it's like the Epcot Center. That's how I picture it.
Too much because it's a temple. Right. But anyway, she thinks that she has the power to ordain.
So why don't you want to share too much? I mean, he seems like he's a Latter-day Saint and probably holds a higher priesthood calling than Ray Hermosillo, because she seems to be focused on Ron here. And she even, you know, makes a comment to Hermosillo saying, oh, I hope I'm not confusing you, you know, but Ron's like, oh no, I got you, you know. Anyways.
Ordain me at that point to be part of this 144,000.
So once you are sealed or go through that sealing process, like what they're doing, what I think is practicing polygamy, selling people to people, even though they are sealed to other members of their church, and already, you know, and this I think is done in secret, and that's why there's nothing really out there about it. There is no comment from the church. There is no guide. It's not any other things. It's just like supposed to be like this myth or some kind of lore or something that they did early in the church. And I call bullshit, because I believe that has never stopped. It is how they became, Utah became a part of the United States of America.
And so she says a little prayer. That's her thing, her little prayers.
Are you calling in reference to a death claim? Yes. Okay, one moment, please. May I have the name of the insured? L. Charles Vallow. And who am I speaking with? This is Lori Vallow. And your relationship to the insured? He's my husband. And what was the cause of his passing? Well, he was shot. Okay, so I don't know how I want to put that. Okay, all right. And I hate to ask, but is it? Yeah, you can just say yes or no. Was it a homicide? No, it was an accident. An accident. Okay. Are you aware of who the primary beneficiary of the policy is? It's me.
It's me.
She had like 3 different phone numbers too, which was so bizarre because she was paranoid.
You know what?
So because she was paranoid, she had 3 different numbers, or because she was hoeing around with Chad? I mean, you know.
Charles getting into her stuff.
What reason she gave you for her to have 3 cell phones?
That Charles was watching everything that she did and said, and that was the only way that she could visit, was with the second phone.
That's the only way she could visit was what?
That Charles was watching everything that she did and said, and that was the only way that she could visit.
So that was the only that she had 3. Lori had 3 cell phones, and she did that because she because she was hiding things from my Uncle Charles, and that's the only way that Lori could visit with Christina. Was to have 3 cell phones. Sounds like some bullshit.
Was with the second phone.
Did she give you all 3 phone numbers?
Yeah, I had them in my phone.
Okay, so they were trying to figure out first how to do it. And so they were all coming up with different ideas. And I wasn't familiar with their vernacular. They would say things like, you know, like Melanie would coin the phrase, probably like some kind of malachite or something. I forgot. Like malachite's a gem. Mm-hmm. So they thought that gem had power. And then
those malachite rings or the malachite stone.
Well, she eventually got that. Yeah, but that was yeah. Right. Like the
So and then that just bought her an out. She was going to explain it, but then that just bought her a ticket to dumb it down, I think.
Or the Malachi Stone.
Well, she eventually got that, yeah, but that was, yeah, like the Malachi Stone. It got really weird after that, actually. She called Chad, she's like, did we get we had a prayer, did we get the spirit out? Because he would be the one that dinged it, and he'd say, yes, it left. So she thought that Charles was dead. It was all done with love. To me, I felt the love when I said it. It just got stupider and stupider, the story did.
It felt like love. She was doing it with love, but people die, and then they go to meet again and do these prayer circles again to cast out these so-called demons, but there's people that are dying, and so I again call bullshit.
How many castings do you think that you were involved in?
Let's minimize it.
Gosh, I don't know. Maybe 10? Maybe. I'm not sure. I think most of them were on Charles and not the kids.
No, let's back up. So Tylee was deemed dark back in July.
She
Did
was
you guys
deemed
ever
dark at some point.
cast for Tylee?
I do not recall that.
We're concerned that Tylee was also had these dark spirits that were trying to control her.
At one point, she was worried about her daughter, Tylee, too. I can't remember if she said it was dark or she was possessed, like her daughter.
What's the difference?
Too. I can't remember if she said it was dark or she was possessed, like her daughter. I think she said she was just dark.
So what's the difference in just being just dark and being possessed? I mean, anyways.
At that
So I think we have to ask Tom Harrison.
point in time, if there was any tension between Lori and Tylee,
There was always tension.
Was there?
When wasn't tension?
When you weren't around?
I mean, it was from day one that I met her. I walk in the room. I super good with teenagers. Love them. Hi. She's like, if we were each other, I was like, hi. And she didn't even want to look at me. And so we were sitting there, and I just, just like try to put like Tylee's hair. Women just do that kind of stuff. And I just pulled her hair up, and she was like, you know what I mean? I was like.
She was like, oh, you are going to be dark, girl. You are going to be inhabited by a zombie soon, right? She didn't like Tylee.
She wasn't going to church. She wasn't taking a sacrament.
Okay, so she wasn't going to church. She wasn't taking sacrament. She doesn't need to wear her undergarments anymore because she's exalted, right? Exalted beings cannot die in this belief system.
She wasn't wearing her garments. She also believed that she did not need to repent of anything.
Because that's what goes with this whole exaltation belief or idea, where you repent up into that point, and then you are exalted, and then you are king, queen, priest, priestess, god, goddess. Okay, you're exalted. A lot of people that come from this religion say that that's not intended for this life, that's for the next one. But y'all don't believe in reincarnation, but you don't believe in multiple mortal probations, but you do. And so it's very misleading to people who aren't willing to do the deep dive into it, to understand it, and to note that, to bring that part out. Well, yeah, you do. You say this and you're doing that. So the actions never line up with the words.
That there was, yeah.
Tell me about that.
And you don't need to repent anymore because you are exalted. You are guaranteed your spot in the celestial kingdom in the next life.
She believed that she was going through a translation of some sort, and that she didn't ever need to seek forgiveness.
Now, these things tie into some documents from the I'm going to say the letter agency, okay, that were declassified.
Anymore.
This is where you get the whole portaling idea, the whole remote viewing thing. Okay. Okay. It's nuts.
Just rang wrong.
She never had accountability for any
I don't know.
sins that she did. She just
No. Anything prior she had taken care of, and from this moving forward.
So from this, she had already repented for the sins prior. And then now moving forward, she didn't have to do any more repenting. That's also dangerous.
She was good.
Exalted.
She didn't need to repent more because she's what?
She was going through some sort of a translation.
Do you know what that translation was going? What was she translating to?
That is part of the translation process, as they teach it, as they don't want you to know they teach it. You know.
Just a translated being. Slowly, she said. The scriptures, it's people that are without sin. Like,
To sin no more, to go no more out, as per Val Brinkerhoff.
the three Nephites or your
Three Nephites, your warrior.
John the Beloved, or them that we're going to live.
That are just like those characters right there that they believe in. Nephi, the three Nephites and John the Beloved. It's likened to them. They're not them. They're not. I think that's misconstrued in the as it came out in the case, in the investigation.
And someday they'd be exalted, but they're not. They're just translated. Their bodies can't die.
And so we can't properly put them on trial. You saw Jim Archibald trying to, get this out of Audrey Baratero. And we can't ask the right questions if we don't have an understanding of these things, right? So it's not being fully pulled out. It's not coming. We don't have the whole story yet. We just have what these people are telling us, and it's their understanding of it. And some of it can be, maybe, this was in May 28th, 2021. Okay. The murders happened in 2019. Chad and Lori were still together in 2018, the end of it. So where I'm going with that is they've had plenty of time to armchair quarterback or whatever, and and corroborate. I'm just saying, I don't know.
What about Melanie Pulaski or Melanie Boudreaux? Sorry.
She was struggling with I think it was her youngest son.
2 kids. 2 of her kids were deemed dark. So she just said she was struggling with her youngest son.
She was struggling with I think it was her youngest son.
Was she going to bring them to be trained? Some are for sacrifice. Some are for training. Some are, it's just deviance. It's sexual deviance at its worst. Ugh.
And Lori had suggested that he was struggling with dark spirits. It had come up that they believed her husband was gay.
Melanie, who's our niece, and she's part of this group now where they go and they're preparing for the end of the world or something. And
for anybody wanting to know, that's what Rex and Adam are doing now. They're digging into the case. So it's interesting. I hope they don't overschedule every Sunday though, over my show. That would suck.
So she's got her on this, and then she said that her husband was gay, that she went to the temple and prayed about it, that he's gay, and Brandon is not gay. So Melanie left Brandon and just divorced him, and Lori said, oh yeah, I prayed about it, he's gay. So Brandon was upset that Lori's interfering with their lives. So Charles had told me Lori is ruining people's lives by just, saying stupid, crazy things. And because I told her that I thought those were alarming and she goes, you think I'm crazy, don't you? And I was like, I don't know if you're crazy, but none of that makes any sense to me. And after I told her that, she cut me off, and me and her were closer than anybody in the family.
As we were eating and visiting, Alex started, I think twice in the evening, he said something to the effect of, he wished he could just kill Charles. Something to that effect. And then Lori that night made a comment about having crushed up some Valium into, I think it was Valium, whatever JJ medicine was to keep him calm, that she had crushed up some pills and put it in Charles's like protein powder or like shake stuff. So the next day I went over and just said to her, Lori, if something were to happen to Charles, I would go to the police. And from that,
Well, she didn't go to the police, not that I'm aware of. And something did happen to Charles. And then something did happen to Tylee and JJ and Tammy and, you know. So
to her, Lori, if something were to happen to Charles, I would go to the police. And from that point on, Lori was done with me.
911, where is your emergency? It's at 5531 South Four Peaks. I'm in police in an ambulance.
What's the emergency there?
I got in a fight with my brother-in-law and I shot him in self-defense.
Okay, let me get the medics on the phone.
Okay, what part of his body is injured?
In the chest.
I'm sorry, where?
In the chest.
Okay, is he awake and responsive or unconscious?
Unconscious.
Okay, is he breathing?
I can't tell.
Okay, are you willing to go over to him and check?
Sure.
Are you wanting to start CPR?
No, I don't know how to do that.
I can walk you through it.
Okay.
You told her if something happened, you'd call the police.
I did.
And then this is the last time you talked to her?
Yeah.
You didn't have any contact with her, Chad, after
Well, after, so I got a text that Charles had been killed. What's interesting is
you didn't call the cops. That's what's interesting.
the way that I read the text, I thought Charles's brother had killed him.
Either way.
So it was a couple days before I even started out who had killed him. That he had been killed by Alex. I didn't figure out for a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, drink your water.
You're fine.
So awkward.
I was traveling. So I reached out and said, hey, I heard about Charles passing. I'm so sorry. When is there a service? Is there anything I can do to help?
And that was the last conversation you had with her until you called.
Other than texting.
Other than texting. So
Hurt or is he alive or?
Yeah, there's blood. He's not moving.
How long ago did this happen?
A couple of minutes.
You don't care, do the work, or don't? Like, they don't care. They're
Well,
so
I think
loyal.
with high school, it's like they're just pumping.
When she was in elementary and junior high, all the teachers worked with her. They were nice about it. But by high school, there's so many kids that just don't care. And I was like, just take it. You're so smart. Let's just take it, see if you pass it. She passed it. Like,
And got a really good score.
yeah, she passed it with like college ready in every category the first time.
Well, and now she can do what she wants. So
Exactly.
she's better off that way. Okay.
You know, he's been telling me all these texts like, you're going down, blah, 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 blah. He's blaming me for our marriage breaking up and my niece getting divorced and my friend getting divorced. He said, I'm a destroyer of families. We had decided to separate or whatever. So he's like, well, I'll pay for a house for you and for JJ.
I'll pay for a house for you and JJ. But he never did anything for all of them.
And whatever, because he's all about JJ. He's never about Tylee, but he's all about JJ. But it's
That's
all these
Lori.
threats on my phone all the time, you know, like whatever, all these things.
What kind of threats?
Just
She couldn't think of nothing.
you'd have to read them to see, but he gets in huge fights with her. A lot of things. But
So she says he got huge fights with Tylee, basically, because she points in Tylee's direction in the next room. And she says that he gets physical. He got physical with her son twice before. And then he went to with Tylee twice or something in Hawaii, but she stopped him. So it's like she's blurring the line here, you know, to assassinate his character, to do the character assassination. That's also a tool. I mean, a pattern that you'll see every freaking time with these people.
anyway, but with Tylee, he has gotten physical
Okay.
before, and with my grown son,
Like physical how?
like got into a physical fist fight with my son when he was 16,
Okay.
and he came after Tylee 2 times in Hawaii,
Okay.
and like went like he was going to hit her, but then I got in between them.
Uh-huh.
That's not physical.
How old was she when that happened?
Probably 13 and 14.
Okay.
He'd work in California, he'd work in Texas. He has like books of business in different areas. And so he just goes wherever.
Okay.
It kind of just gives him freedom that he doesn't have to stay home every day and take care of special needs.
Yeah.
It's like an excuse there. Just how he is, because he only thinks about himself. So.
He was following her and yelling, and then I got between them. And then Tylee came out with her bat. She took her bat like that and shoved him, and he took the bat away.
Yeah, he was a professional baseball player.
Okay.
So it wasn't a good idea for Tylee to get out of that. Or he took the bat from her, she fell back. And so I told her, I was like, go get in the car with JJ.
And so my mom said to go with JJ, and so I ran out the door.
So I went into the bedroom where I was staying, ran my gun, and I came back.
Okay.
And told him to put the gun down, or the bat down. And he came at me and was saying, what are you gonna do? Like that, and coming to me with the bat. I said, put it down. He wouldn't, he came at me, so.
Okay.
Your brother lives there with you?
No,
Okay.
he had stayed with me last night because I was worried he was gonna come over and
Okay.
cause trouble with me.
Okay.
And just wanted someone else there, like my brother there, because I trust my brother.
Is there a reason you spent the night there last night?
No, not really.
Okay.
Just hang out. We were gonna hang out today.
Okay. Did your sister ever tell you she was concerned for her safety or well-being for Charles coming there?
No.
Like, I don't want JJ coming in to the house and I wanted her out of the way. I wanted the kids out of the way, whatever this fight was going to be.
When she went outside with your brother, you never came back inside.
Oh, I went to go get my mom's purse
Okay.
from inside so that we could have like her wallet and everything. So when I went in, I kind of like just tuned everything out, ran to my mom's closet, ran back. So I didn't see anything, I didn't hear anything.
When did you go back in and get her purse?
After my mom came out.
Okay. So after you heard that loud noise?
Yeah.
Do you remember what your husband or your brother were saying or yelling during all of this?
I don't remember specifics.
But I honestly couldn't tell you what they were saying. It was kind of just like all jumbled up in my head.
What's he saying?
Okay.
And he was just screaming at both of them. Like, I don't even know what he was saying because honestly, I was just too like wired, I guess.
But you don't remember, if you do, like what your mom was saying at all, or what he was mad about?
No, not really. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's okay. So you were trying to get away from him,
right?
And you heard the shot. Prior to the shot, do you remember at any point hearing your husband or your brother saying anything to either of them?
No. He's very, very professional with guns.
Proficient, professional.
Sorry about that. Thanks for your patience.
No worries.
All right, so.
It's fun staring at nothing.
So you weren't under the impression that she had you there to make sure that he was,
No.
didn't cause an issue or anything like that. But she never said anything about having you come over because she didn't feel safe with him or because he was showing up or anything like that? Okay. Is it normal for you?
She had expressed that he had threatened her in some email and text messages.
Okay.
Saying he was going to stop her or destroy her or something to that effect.
Hi, Detective Coons. This is Debbie. I'm returning your call.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Thank you for calling back.
So I was married to Alex many years ago, and our marriage ended within a year. There were so many crazy dynamics in that family. There was a lot of inappropriate sexual touching and things going on in the family, particularly between him and his sister.
So between Alex and Lori?
And Lori.
Okay. You kind of got me at a loss on this one. What do you consider inappropriate sexual touching?
He would pick her up and she'd wrap her legs around his waist and he would kind of bounce her up and down on himself.
Okay.
In front of me, and they would moan and simulate sex acts.
Okay.
And his mom and dad talked about their sex life in front of us constantly, and it just kind of seemed to be a game for them.
Oh,
to
the
talk
mom and
about
dad
their
didn't really object to it then, huh?
No, not at all. All of this was going on in the family, in front of everybody. They had no shame. He did touch her breasts and things, but they were allowed to do that in their family. So to him,
interesting.
He didn't think it was weird. He thought I was weird for thinking it was weird.
How old were they when you guys got married and you saw this behavior?
I was 22 and Alex was 24.
So, okay,
Yeah.
so she was maybe 20, 21 at the time?
Yeah. Yep, that sounds right. All of the inappropriate behavior I saw was in California at their mom and dad's house. He got excommunicated from the Mormon church. I know that he said he got rebaptized and then he got excommunicated again. Where Alex is weak is he was just sexually promiscuous. He would find it wherever he could find it. I found out that actually he had slept with a 15-year-old girl while we were living in Texas. And then the other sex issues for us were really the situation with his sister.
Why come forward now this far down the road from when the investigation started?
I tried all of those agencies that I told you about.
Where did that go? You know?
Hello, this is Joe.
Hey, Joe, Detective Moff with the Chandler Police Department. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. How are you today?
I'm well.
Well, I'm, of course, the owner of the house on Four Peaks, right?
Yeah.
You know that, right? Okay. Thursday afternoon, the day of the murder, they're having a pool party at the house, at Lori's house.
It's called Revel.
There's loud music. There's lots of people. There's kids making noise. There's swimming. It's a pool party.
So I understand that Lori's your sister.
Well, Alex is excommunicated from the church. And so he believes Lori, because Lori's like, it doesn't matter what you do in this world. All you have to do is have a body and you can be saved. You're just here to get a body. And Al loves that because then he can go sin and do whatever he wants. And usually when my brother takes a week off of vacation, he goes to Colombia to be with women. You know, Lori thinks that death is nothing. And it's odd that Joe, her ex-husband, supposedly died of a heart attack when they were desperate for money. And he left her $50,000 and Tylee gets $2,000. And then Charles has a $2 million. It just, there's a lot of red flags for me.
She did tell two of our mutual friends that she paid her brother to kill Joe Ryan.
That's not April talking. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Lori and Alex planned Joe's death. So they planned out how they were going to kill Joe. And Al was going to taser him, throw him in the trunk, and take him out to a field and shoot him, and then bury him. Well, Al went to taser him, and it didn't work, and Joe called the cops.
I just thought about this then. So if that was the plan with Joe, why didn't they do that when he did die? If I never thought about that before. If that was the plan to shoot him and bury him, they didn't do that because he was found. You know, it's something to think about.
And Al went to jail for 12 months.
Not long enough.
And it's just odd that my mom sent my wife a text on Friday. She didn't tell us that Charles was dead. She didn't tell us anything was happening. She knew that I flew out there on Charles's points, and she sent a message to my wife going, "Thank you so much for sending Adam out here using your points to fly out." Why would she say that? Right. I think my mom knows something, and she's trying to cover up for those two. I'm just telling you, man to man, and I love my family, but justice, you know, poor Charles, he didn't deserve to die. I guess she's got another friend named Melanie that buys into everything she's saying too. So they're two peas in a pod as well.
So we were in a circle, we were holding hands, and Charles had passed away, so it had to have been somebody else because Charles was dead. And Sulema, she started talking about that. She was into, you know, moving the earth and the earthquakes and all that. You probably know that. She thought she had the power to do that.
And this was after Charles died.
This was right after he died when we had that little meeting. Remember how I said we got together one time in Charles's house?
You recall how soon after that was?
Weeks,
Weeks.
within weeks.
This casting was for what reason?
To continue to help the spirits that are in the bodies to talk them out of leaving their bodies.
What bodies?
I think it could have been Tammy. It might have been Brandon, maybe. Dilemma remembers. Yes.
You don't.
Some things. Some things.
I don't remember and I can't put it together. I can't not put it together.
I don't recall.
Mm.
I mean, I could say maybe, but I don't remember.
I have ADD, so I don't have the best memory. There was something, and I don't remember what it was. Just that we were all trying to pray to do whatever it was she was hoping to do, but I don't remember what it was.
That night on the 22nd, does Lori leave anywhere with JJ?
I don't have any memory of her leaving.
Lori sent a text to you around 8:30
Right.
that evening, saying that something to the effect of, "Hey, I'll be there shortly. JJ woke up. She's getting him back to bed."
Don't you ever stop.
Do you know where she was at or where you were at when she sent that text?
Gosh,
Happy birthday, Jules.
man, that doesn't even sound familiar.
Sure.
Maybe at Alex's house. I mean, that's the only. It's
Is
the only
there-
place that she
Do
could
you,
be. Or
do you have that conversation with her on your phone right now?
no, I think I deleted everything.
What was your spiritual name that she would use for you?
Phoebe.
Phoebe.
I don't.
And then how were you related to her? How were you related to Lori?
So I was the oldest of all her kids. Yeah, so she only had one husband in that one, according to her. Now I don't believe that now, just for the record. I
Right.
do not believe it.
That's even worse, to not believe it and still go along with it. So, bullshit.
This stuff.
So Lori was your mom.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
In my opinion, these are the roles. These are part of the ritual, and they're assigned characters, and that's their role. And it gives them direction. I think the only closest way I got to it yesterday with my moderators was it was like square dancing. You know how they call out do and whatever. It's something like that. That's how it comes off to me. It's like a directional. You do this, then you do that, then this. Anyways, that's my take on this.
Because there's times you call her mom. And
Yeah.
And I did reach out to her in October because, so it turns out my sister.
This is so interesting. So she reaches out to Lori in October. So I was like, okay, October of 2019. Then I was like, yeah. And then, because 2018, we don't really, that's about the time they were still together. So I'm trying to figure out what she's talking about or what the timeline is. And so this is where it really gets interesting to me.
Ruth.
So her sister is Ruth, and she lives where Chad lives because her sister is in the same ward as Chad. So pay attention to this next part. I'll back it up.
Call her mom. And
Yeah.
And I did reach out to her in October because, so it turns out my sister, Ruth, is in Chad Daybell's ward. She lives in Salem.
Oh, really?
The only time I'd ever met him was at my sister's ward that summer.
She met Chad at her sister's ward in Salem that summer. So this would be about the time that my uncle was murdered, July of 2019. That's what I'm getting. Unless it was the year before.
We went to go grab my brother-in-law.
So she went to go grab her brother-in-law.
And Chad was in the office.
Chad was in the office.
Like, whatever the clerk's office is.
Whatever the clerk's office is. That is, Chad was serving as a ward clerk who is under a bishop. And I don't know if anybody can corroborate or help me vet this out. So was Rob Wood the bishop at the time? Because that would cause lots and lots and lots more questions and conflict, in my opinion. If so, because this is all in the commission of all these crimes. You know what I'm saying?
And my
Back it
brother,
up so y'all can hear it in its entirety.
she was out.
Oh, shoot.
I reached out to her in October because, so it turns out my sister, Ruth, is in Chad Daybell's ward. She lives in Salem. Oh, really? The only time I'd ever met him was at my sister's ward that summer. We went to go grab my brother-in-law, and Chad was in the office, one of like whatever the clerk's office is, and my brother-in-law introduced me.
So her sister's husband, her brother-in-law, I wonder if he worked in the bishop office too or whatever. Because he introduced Christina, his sister-in-law, to Chad Daybell. And then what she says here is about to be interesting too.
I said, hey, I'm a friend of Lori's.
Hey, I'm a friend of Lori. So you just go from wherever the hell you live, Christina Atwood, and you are introduced to Chad Daybell, who's in the same ward as your sister in Salem, Idaho. And you think to say, hey, I'm a friend of Lori's. Odd. Okay.
You know her. And he
I
said,
think you know her.
Yeah, she's a friend or whatever. And that was the extent, like under 30 seconds. And that's the only time I've ever met him.
But didn't she take part in some of these castings before, they allegedly turned their backs on her and pretty much said she was dark because she was asking questions?
The reason we want to talk to you is because throughout this investigation, we're kind of looking ahead.
This bothers me.
One potential problem here is that making accountability for everybody on particular days. Have you ever been to Idaho?
Yeah, several times.
Now, somebody told me, does your sister live in Idaho?
Mm-hmm. She was an expert.
I'd like to get some accountability of where you were October 9th and October 19th.
Interesting dates. Those are the days that Tammy was shot at and then murdered.
2019.
According to my calendar, I was at Feed My Starving Children, October 19th.
Feed My Starving Children. This is something I want to look into because, and it seems to be a theme. There was some paperwork. I'm sorry, in the lawsuit paperwork against Tim Ballard, there was, I think it was under the amended lawsuit against Tim Ballard. So I'm not trying to incorporate it in this, so I'm just going to kind of vaguely talk about it or briefly. But in there was a flyer, and Tim was supposed to speak at a speaking engagement that he was going to get paid $250,000 for that he missed. So where I'm going with that is that there's a flyer and it looks like a kindergartner did it. And then around, there's another flyer of Jason Mao where he was allegedly in Billings, Montana, the weekend that JJ was murdered, the weekend that Fern Foundation allegedly had this expo. And I never could find a flyer, but Sue sent it to me. And I was like, oh my God, holy crap, so there's a flyer, but it's basic. It looks like a kindergartner did it. Then there's one with Jason on it. And it has, different name. Like it just looks generic. It looks made up. And that's where I'm going with that.
What I really need is you to consent to just give us some DNA. So a mouse swab. Here's why. Some of this evidence we have is forensics.
So we know it's forensics,
and
right?
I want to be able to say
For Tammy
that any DNA that we come up with is not yours.
Swab it. I got what you got.
I mean,
So his confidence there is like, okay, swab it. Let's do this, tells me that, maybe he wasn't there for October 9th and 19th, but was he there for September 22nd, 23rd, that time frame when JJ was murdered? And there really is nothing to go on from when Tylee was murdered, because there wasn't, I haven't heard anything where there's a conference or anything like that to be able to pinpoint that. With Tylee's, I'd like to do a very in-depth, research into the pings, because that's interesting as all get out, and very clouded, you don't really know much. So much cloud and confusion, and there's not much data around it, but yet there's data for every other thing. It just it don't fly.
Whatever I have to do to get myself away from this crap.
I'm truly just doing this to make sure that, you're accounted for. I know you're not there.
Whoever butchered those kids needs to burn in hell, so.
Whoever butchered those kids needs to burn in hell. They don't even believe in hell.
No, just cheeks. There we go.
Dummy.
You guys talk about a code word
It's
to make
almost
sure it's
the
safe
end.
to talk. Do you remember talking about that with them?
Yeah, because remember I told you that the day that Alex and I were going to Vegas, that day when I got back from the spa, he wasn't in the
From a spa.
house. And so then I called him and I said, "Hey, where are you at?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm in the walkway, the green field behind the house."
What are they doing in these fields? Okay. There's one by Chad's. There's one behind her house.
With Give. And
what's the point if she's about to talk about code words and when they used them, and this is her story as to why they use them. So if you're in a field, what are you using code words for? And then how did the cops know about the code words? They had to have found them from the text, right? So what are the code words for?
And Melly, so he's like, "Just come out back here and meet us back here." That's what they were talking about. They were making a code word to say.
Is that when they came up with, that's part of this conspiracy then? Where that's where they all had to huddle up, and in that field, that's when they came up with the code words, which to use? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then they used the code words, the cops figured out, and then they're asking her about that now. That's interesting. I had not caught that, like when they would use or when they came up with the code word.
This is safe to talk. This is not safe to talk.
Do you remember what the words were?
So it was.
And then what other code words?
Pretty bird. And the other one was not happy Bob.
Not happy Bob. So which one meant it was okay to talk?
And it's going to be backwards, right? You would think that pretty bird, not happy Bob would be, I don't know. It's backwards.
I think it's the opposite.
Or how come you were always the one who would make the calls? How come it wouldn't be Ian?
And so that struck me too. Why wouldn't it be Ian? Well, I mean, Ian allegedly met Melanie after all the murders took place, right? So I would like to know more about that.
Or how come you were always the one who would make the calls? How come it wouldn't be Ian or Melanie or anybody else within the group that would call Chad?
Why was it you, Zelma? Shot caller? Gatherer? Co-conspirator?
I don't know. I guess it was just kind of like I just kind of take over kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe.
Take cover?
There was no really a particular reason.
Oh, there's a reason. There's a freaking reason you are so elaborate in planning and meeting in a huddle behind your house, all to come up and develop these code words, so that you can communicate with the other co-conspirators, the plan. So there is a real particular reason.
Why I would.
Relevant.
Part of the manipulation and part of that
And here's the deflection and the persecution complex, right? I was victim.
indoctrination and getting you to be part of this, needing them and being, close to them and stuff like that was their constant offering you a blessing of comfort or offering you a
It was no different than any other day in the text when she would text Lori or Chad and ask them because she thought that she had all these weapons in her. Okay. Her head hurt, her ass hurt, her back hurt, everything's attacking her. She's the eye of the Lord, right? And if you researched into the Lafferty case, there's the arm of the Lord, the hand of the Lord. Okay. There's one that does the killing and there's all the other parts to it too. It's so interesting.
a blessing of something that was going to happen.
So you can't ask for blessings and then use this and as a manipulation tactic done on you is what I'm saying. It's a lemma.
So promising you something. So it was almost as if when you get that on a constant basis all the time, and then all of a sudden you don't, it's almost as if you're like, whoa, what happened there?
Don't be so needy. I don't know.
What I mean? All of a sudden you feel like, oh my goodness, I have no guidance now.
Zelema was married. Alex was actually Zelema's sixth husband. It would be so awesome, or not awesome. It would be so interesting to find out if any of her other husbands have passed away. Just to note.
They started saying to me from the beginning was that putting me in a position of being so special.
Because you were the eye of the Lord. You and Alex were the protectors of Lori, who didn't need protection. She didn't wear her undergarments anymore. She didn't need protection. So I don't know what this is. I'm just calling those things out. There's all this talk, but then there's the action part that doesn't line up to it. Okay.
Like Lori and Chad used to say to me often, your mission is the most important one. We have to take care of you more than we have to take care of anyone else because your mission is most important. And
your mission, you're part of this conspiracy. You're dropping the code words. You're the one making the phone calls to Chad and Lori, who are they are the ones that are on trial, or you know what I mean. Anyway,
more important than anybody else's. They always said that to me from the beginning. And it was, Lori would say that sometimes when we would just get together, she would say that, oh, everybody has to, make sure that you're praying and taking care of Solana because her mission is the most important.
Chad went by another name.
So everybody knew that, Zelema's mission was the most important. That is so fascinating.
Raphael, do you have that in your phone by chance?
Oh, let me see. Maybe.
You do.
You don't. But
Does that ring a bell with you though, with Raphael?
Mm-hmm.
Usually on a couple of those recordings, you refer to Chad as Raphael. Is that what you called him normally, or did you normally call him Chad?
I would call him Chad.
Because on one of those you say, let me call Raphael's column.
I think that Alex used to call him Raphael a lot. So if I was saying something like that, it's probably because Alex was with me, because he would call him that.
Gotcha. And why did Chad and Lori think that code words were necessary?
So the way that they had expressed it was
now just a while ago she said that there wasn't no real particular reason, and then now she's saying why Chad and Lori thought it was important, necessary,
because you were at a high level 6.
So she's saying they developed code words. Now when did they develop these code words? They didn't even know Ray Hermosillo at this time. unless she's saying you, like, because I talk like that too. I say you feel like this way, you feel like that, you do this, you do that. And I mean me, we, people in general. So maybe that's where she's going with this. Let me back that up.
Preston was because, you were a high level 6, dark person. You guys,
I was kind of confused because, at some point it comes out in the infamous Reddit email that Ray Hermosillo or two of the, I could have swore it was the FBI agents, but maybe it was the Rexburg police that were deemed dark, along with none other than Elder Rasbin. I'm sorry, not Rasbin. It was Dale G. Renlin and Russell M. Ballard. Russell Ballard. That's they're 2 apostles, okay, in the church. Why would they go dark? Why would the FBI or the law enforcement, why would 2 of those go dark? And then I don't think Chad and Lori wrote that. That's Melanie Gibb, because that's Nate Eaton used that exact email to basically line out his interview with Melanie Gibb. And then where did I hear this from? Oh God. It was, whenever I found those papers not long ago, about 5 weeks ago, probably. And it was some Mark Means filings, right? And he was wanting to, he was trying to subpoena everything and everybody. Okay. But through that court paperwork, you learned that where Melanie Gibb is allegedly talking to Rob Wood and she's saying, yeah, I did an interview, put a video out. Rob Wood allegedly tells Melanie Gibb to put out a video, a good video, put out a good video. And so she responds or something and she says, yeah, I put out a good one. So was that referring to the Nate Eaton interview with Melanie Gibb? Again, it just doesn't seem right. Why would Rob Wood tell Melanie Gibb to put out anything? That's his witness. I mean, you don't use them as a tool, do you? I don't know. I'm asking because I don't know anything about that.
Oh, Lori's scissors that are $100 and something or $300.
And this is just her throwing it in there just to, I think, again, distance herself from her own culpability and responsibility in the murders of my family and Tammy. And, it's just to minimize her and deflect onto persecution complex. She's just like, yeah, I don't know why she didn't. We'll never know.
$1,000. Oh. I always have that feeling that there was something really nefarious about her giving me those.
Why are you laughing?
I still do.
And she gave them to you when she came home from Hawaii, right? When you met him and
when they had just come back from getting married.
The layover or whatever.
When they had just come back from getting married. So November 5th is when they got married, 2019. So this is before her and Alex tie the knot at the end of November. This is before Melanie and Ian tie the knot at the end of November. All in Vegas. Yeah.
It's so bizarre. Why would she hand me those things? It makes absolutely no sense.
Let's go back to the conversation that you had with Alex when Tammy's body is being exhumed.
Now I caught this last night for the first time. Again, this is by Mindshock. I put the link in the chat just now. It's a channel and they put this together. And so the way they laid it out, I mean, I'm just like, it just brings things differently for me, like things I hadn't thought of before. It's like this line of thinking, like if you're presenting this way, then you know what I mean? Like it strikes me differently. I'm not watching it all in its whole context. I already have so many times, but just the way this played out, it just evokes so many different other things. It raises more questions and allows us to have more insight and look into these things and kind of, when you first listened and watched these things, these body cam and interviews and all that, when they first came out in the investigation, that was with what you knew at that time. And since then, you've researched more, right? We researched more. I've researched more. And I know more now than I did back then. And so it's like, so you have that aspect of it. Then, knowing what we know now about how this transpired, it's interesting to see the gaps. They kind of stand out. So, I mean, this is all after pretty much the murders are done, because Lori and Chad come back from getting married November 5th. Tammy was dead. Everybody was dead. Everybody was shot at, dead. Carnage in the wake, right? But
Do you remember that conversation where you said you had confronted him and said, Alex, are you going to have anything to do with this?
okay, let me back that up.
Tammy's body is the conversation that you had with Alex when Tammy's body is being exhumed.
Which was December 11th, 2019. Now just note that.
Do you remember that conversation where you said you had confronted him and
she confronts Alex December 11th, 2019. We know that because he died December 12th, 2019, the very next day.
said, Alex, are you going to have anything to do with this?
Are you going to have anything to do with what? With Tammy's body being exhumed. How would she know? Okay, hold on.
Why would you think that he may have something to do with it?
Why would exhuming Tammy's body make Zalema think that it was to do with any of these co-conspirators, Lori, Chad, Alex? Why would there be doubt? Why? You see what I'm saying? Like, it would have, like, if you had nothing to do with Tammy's death, then it wouldn't, you just be like, well, that's curious, I wonder why, it would be innocent because you had nothing to do with the actual death. That's what struck me.
With this. Why would you think that he may have something to do with it?
So Lori and Chad had called that day, and they were the ones that told us that they were exhuming her body.
So again, Chad, Lori called Zalema and Alex and said, hey, they're exhuming Tammy's body. Why would that be a threat to anybody unless they had something to do with it?
And the way they were talking, they weren't really saying anything like, oh, we're worried or anything like that.
So interesting. We're not worried. So they're not, face value. This is, I mean, she didn't even know Tammy, right? Allegedly. I'm just saying, why would this prompt her to ask questions? Why would that make her link those things together unless she thought otherwise or knew better?
It was more of like a feeling that I had that was like, this is really weird.
How?
Like,
why?
Shouldn't they be like having this kind of reaction?
Why would Chad and Lori or Alex have any, should they be like having this kind of reaction? What kind of reaction? If they were innocent, what kind of reaction?
Type of thing, not like so nonchalantly. Oh, they're exhuming her body.
Nonchalantly, they're not worried, but she's suspecting all of a sudden. I mean, it just don't sound right.
Thing. And I was like, why are they so not nonchalantly about it? Like, are they hiding something? Did they do something? Did it not do something?
And then she goes into this babble, which is just where she's speculating, right? It doesn't add up.
And so that's why I wanted to. I knew that if I asked Lori and Chad,
what did she want to do? I wanted to what? Ask them that?
About anything, they probably wouldn't say anything. But I thought that if they had been doing something, he had done anything, Alex would probably tell me.
Okay. Well, did he? Okay. Asking.
So that's why I pressured him. I'm like, would you have anything to do with this? Like, did they exhume this body, and
Did you have anything to do with this? Did they exhume this body?
are they gonna find anything?
Are they going to find anything? Why would she even go there unless there was already prior knowledge about Tammy dying?
Did you have anything to do with this? And he said no. But I mean, I don't know. If
Yeah, you
that
do.
was
You do
true or
know.
not. Do you know what I mean?
Why are you laughing? It ain't funny.
But I mean, I don't know if that was true or not. Do you know what I mean?
If
Mm-mm.
my wife gets a call
Right.
and they say one of her friends is being exhumed, that wouldn't be a question I would ask my wife is, did you have anything to do with this? That wouldn't even cross my mind. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
would be more like,
Right.
hey, we're telling you it's getting exhumed.
Right.
Information wise, this is what's going on. So that's why I wanted you to maybe expand a little bit on maybe why you thought or suspected Chad and Lori may have done something to Tammy, or that maybe Alex had known about something or had done something.
So remember that they were saying that Tammy had become a zombie.
Mhm.
Remember that?
Yep.
So then I stand up and I start walking away because I'm like, I don't know what to think at this point.
Yeah, you do.
And that's when he said, I think I am being their fall guy. And I'm
She
like,
already-
the fall guy for what?
She already knew.
What is it? Tell me. What is it that they're trying to pin on you? What did they do? And he just wouldn't say anything else. And then I get frustrated again because he's not answering my questions. So I turn around and I'm gonna walk away again, because I'm just so frustrated that he's not saying anything. And that's when he tells me either I am a man of God or I am not. Now putting it all back, and now I understand that, they were probably telling him to blessings to do certain things. And
So to off himself, right? We know how these blessings are being all over the place. Unless you sneeze.
Julima, as we've been going over things, we've been going over reports that you have given to Gilbert initially with Alex's death. And some of those statements that you gave them don't match what you gave us the last time we talked. So I just wanted to clarify
Why not? They should match.
kind of why you told them something completely different. Okay?
Her arms are folded too.
So when I was discussing last time with you, about
was this the day that Alex died? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
the day Alex died. So do you remember anything that you told those guys as far as Lori and Chad? Or...
Very, very little. I don't remember much of what happened. To tell you the truth, there is a part of between 2 weeks there that there isn't.
That's the time that she was married to Alex, a whole 2 weeks, right? Total. Okay.
Much. It's very foggy for me. I can't put a timeline
So her whole marriage to Alex was foggy.
together. I don't know what happened first and what happened next.
Well, I'll just come on
But you do know what happened.
and ask you. You told Gilbert that you had no idea how to get a hold of Lori and Chad when they asked you who Alex was on the phone with.
How did she know Alex was on the phone with Lori and Chad if she wasn't there when Alex died?
Can you tell me why you told him that?
I wonder why I would have said something like that, because I told them that they were on the phone with him.
How do you know that?
Right, and they asked you how to get a hold of them. And
And then you say, I don't know their number.
in your statement, you said you had only met Lori a couple of times before she moved.
Before she moved.
And you hadn't seen Lori since she moved a few months ago. And you,
Which is a lie, because she went up there and acted as an alibi for Chad to be able to go hoe around with Lori and Zalema in the temple. And, you know, Audrey too. Audrey went there too.
you didn't think Lori was married.
Yeah, I don't remember saying that.
You didn't know. Whoa. Okay. Moved a few months ago and you didn't think, hold on, let me back that up.
And you hadn't seen Lori since she moved a few months ago. And you didn't think Lori was married.
And she didn't think Lori was married. Okay. Hold on. Let me think. It's like I had a point, but then it fell out of the context.
You said you had only met Lori a couple of times before she moved.
You went to Rexburg after that.
And you hadn't seen Lori since she moved a few months ago. And you didn't think Lori was married.
Lie.
Yeah, I don't remember saying that.
We did.
So that's why I was wondering, when it comes to the Gilbert reports, you say you have no idea where they're at or how to get a hold of Lori, or you've only met Lori a couple times. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Where there's a discrepancy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Okay,
that's
well,
why I
explain it.
want to talk about that, and I wanted to know why you had told Gilbert police that you kind of really didn't know Lori or where she was at.
You know, and before we, I don't want you answering something about having potentially misled Gilbert Police Department until I hear the statement.
Misled, right? Interesting.
I mean, I just did. I don't know.
Okay. So real quick, I want to switch to this. And this is from End Time Productions. And it's The Secret History of Black Magic Revealed. I'm gonna speed it up. Let's see.
To deceive the people for the purpose of exploiting them, to enslave them and delay their progress or prevent it if possible. Such is the crime of black magic. This quote was written in 1861. Does it sound familiar? It should, because it's exactly what's happening today. Deceive the people for the purpose of exploiting them. Check. Enslave them. Check. Delay or prevent their progress. Double check. In less than 100 years, we've gone from this to this. We sit here like mindless zombies staring at a screen for hours at a time. And this is just the beginning. There is a global syndicate of underground black magicians who have been steering the course of history from behind the scenes since the beginning of time. Quote, but what skeptics and agnostic Christians alike ignore is that besides the drawing room mediums for diversion, there are occultists whose vile practices are veiled in the most profound mystery. These men, whose moral sense is absolutely perverted, believed in Lucifer, but believe him to be equal of God and worship him secretly. End quote. In order to avoid falling victim to these spells, we must be able to identify them quickly and accurately. Every time you turn on the TV, they're casting a spell. Modern day witches and occultists cast spells through a variety of methods, most of which are hidden in plain sight for all to see, yet they go completely ignored by the general public. One of the most common forms of black magic we are subject to is called lesser magic. Lesser magic, in its most basic form, is the implementation of the magician's will through the use of applied psychology and manipulation tactics.
For sure. This is tactics used by Hamlin.
Thing is, you speak
for a consensus of reality which is acceptable. We speak for one which at this point in history is not acceptable. So it's just a question of who manipulates the media, who has the most money to put their reality forth.
Well, turns out.
A 49-year-old unidentified man went berserk last night.
Where did she get her view of the world?
Shotgun. 14 people are dead, including
Who will be her role models? What values will she have? Whose child is she? Yours or the network's? Take back your children. Turn off the TV.
Predictive programming, subliminal messages, and subliminal manipulation are all widely used today and can be found in just about every form of entertainment.
Right now on Fox 5 News at 10.
Back we are now with a Fox 5 News exclusive.
A message of hate found in a
I've got to have 1.25.
A major U.S. Daily story about subliminal messages. I don't think we need to be subliminal.
Have you ever been fascinated by something? A movie, a TV show, a music video, a painting, or a song? If you answered yes, there is a high likelihood that you have fallen victim to lesser magic.
It's kind of like how, the scrolling through your phone and just being mesmerized by that, or like gambling, video machines and things like that, video gambling, whatever it's called. It's interesting.
Quote, the word fascination has an occult origin. Fascination was a term applied to the evil eye. To fix a person's gaze, in other words, fascinate, was to curse them with the evil eye. End quote. Now, there are two main schools in modern occultism, practical Kabbalah and Eastern mysticism. With many offshoots, most of them will fall under these two categories. The Kabbalah can be seen as the actual science of the occult. It is the secret theology that boils down to a few basic principles, and they are all satanic in nature. You see, Kabbalists believe that our God, Yahweh, the God of Israel, and Jesus Christ himself are the embodiment of evil.
I think that they're using and manipulating scriptures. I really do.
While worshiping Lucifer as the true God of creation.
Because it's funny and not funny, but it's weird how Glenn Beck, Tim Ballard, Chad Daybell, Lori, they all live by the scriptures, right? But the way they portray good and evil, the way they portray Jesus Christ, is way different than my perception. It's foreign.
It's the exact same upside down theology that was presented to Eve in the Garden of Eden.
There you go.
Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil.
Up is down, down is up. Pain is good. Come on, Jody Hildebrandt. Pain is so good.
That put darkness for light and light for darkness. That put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. The Kabbalah teaches magic, or the art of intercourse with spirits and supernatural beings. One cannot be a convinced Kabbalist without soon becoming a magician and devoting oneself to the practice of occultism. Not that all Kabbalists or magicians practice all the different branches of occultism. Some of them are used by charlatans for the exploitation of a superstitious persons, but a great many, precisely the most criminal and perverse, are observed in the hidden dens of modern Luciferians. End quote. Ritual magic has two major disciplines. Now keep in mind that all of these methods are considered an abomination to God and should be avoided at all costs. First is divining magic. Divining magic consists of the following. Astrology, which is divining the future from the stars through the use of horoscopes. Aeromancy, which is divination by the study of aerial phenomenon, specifically cloud formations.
Y'all remember the dark tornado or whatever? What is the limo called? Referring to Tylee or dark portal. That's never mind. But I can't think of anything right the second. I thought that was it, but yeah, I was wrong. My bad.
Palmistry, divining the future from reading the lines on one's palm. Hydromancy, divination by studying liquids and how they're affected by thoughts and words.
Do y'all not remember those posts or whatever that were on Reddit, and it was Dan Judd and Tammy Judd who have been in, that was spewed in the very beginning of this investigation, the very beginning. And I think these people are sent in or put in or something to cause diversions, okay, to distract you from what's really, from getting to the truth. They're there to like stop you and be like, yeah, no. I mean, there was the whole letter that was in the FOIA docs that came from it was a letter from Dan Judd. And anyway, so it was released by the FBI. Why not all the other things? Why just that letter that was saying that, it was like some big drug thing and mob, I mean, just all the drug lords and shit like that. It was stupid. And this is where Sean Little Bear is named in there too. So is Larry Echo Hawk, who was a general, he was a 70 in the hierarchy. Okay. It just is just so gross. It's so gross to the levels that we have had to freaking work around and through just to not really get justice served because it's still being hidden. It's not the whole story. The other thing was, Lori, so in the Reddit post or whatever, Dan Judd had talked about in some post or whatever, him and Tammy Judd talked about meeting Lori and Tylee before, like in 2017. I don't know. How will I know? Not at this rate. But they said that she was fascinated with water. She had like a water exhibit or something, and it was about how water responds to vibration or something like that. I really don't know. It's just one of them things that I'm just pointing that out.
Anthropomancy, which is a, quote, horrible, savage abomination and consists of disemboweling a human being, then spreading out the entrails for the purpose of divining the future.
I mean, come on. This is Tylee. This is what they did to Tylee.
Druids in ancient Britain were said to consult their gods by looking into the entrail of their captives, end quote. Pyromancy, divination by fire.
Another one.
Onirocritics, which is divining the future through dream interpretations. And finally, we have cartomancy, which is divination by cards.
What about a pendulum?
Now we move on to operative magic. Luciferians worldwide have been using these methods since the beginning of time. These rites are easy to identify as they all share the same basic principles. The first on our list of operative magic is alchemy. Originally called Hermetic science, named after the god Hermes, alchemy uses spiritual power to physically change or transmutate one thing into another. Historically, it was used to create elixirs and potions that were...
Remember the elixirs and potions and the balms and stuff that was supposed to come from this healing quality malachite? Remember that? Telling you this goes higher than we even can wrap our minds around. It's freaking scary. Then we have Tom Harrison and Chad and Julie Rowe allegedly going to meet with Tom Harrison, and he's teaching them how to portal. Okay. And then here comes Janet Russin and all the Tim Ballard stuff. And Blaze Media put out an article, in-depth article. Yeah, well, I mean, for Glenn Beck, who's part of this too, about Janet Russin, Tim Ballard's psychic, okay, that he would use on these ops to go and find these children in which he rescued. But they never found Gardy Marty, ever. And they say that they're not summoning Nephi, the ancient prophet in the Mormon church, but they are, however, calling out. This is what Janet has said before. Janet Russin, she's after all that stuff came out, she's over here trying to do damage control, okay, and she's saying, "Oh no, it wasn't the prophet Nephi. We were trying to evoke Tim Ballard's not uncle, his great grandfather, who is Nephi Anderson." Okay. Anderson's a very important name as far as the Hamblin case goes, too.
We're supposed to, quote, increase a person's life. Next up, we have mesmerism. Magnetic mesmerism is the black magic equivalent of MK Ultra. Using sorcery, one is able to gain control of a person's mind, implanting whatever thoughts and ideas they deem necessary.
That's what David Hamblin does. And note that President Oaks is part of this. He was allegedly doing what do you call shock therapy to gay students at BYU to try and turn them straight. Okay, that we're not freaking rats. We're not lab rats. First off, so what's really going on?
The aim is a fractured personality which can be turned on and off at will.
Let me go back.
Gain control of a person's mind, implanting whatever thoughts and ideas they deem necessary. The aim is a fractured personality which can be turned on and off at will, essentially creating a golem which does the deed of the magician. This is found in the majority of SRA victims.
That's exactly what has been detailed in the reports from Hamblin's own daughters, saying that the whole Tabitha thing and calling out that personality so that she will do sexual deviant acts with her own family and other members of this Church of Satan, or they call it the group.
Next, we have necromancy and theurgy. Necromancy is the practice of evoking the spirits of the dead, and theurgy is a supernatural assistance in the life of a living person. Quote, the experience of theurgy and necromancy are always disastrous to those who indulge in them.
Chad, Grandpa Keith.
One has stood on the threshold of the other world, one must die, and almost invariably under terrible conditions. First, giddiness.
Giddiness. Do y'all remember whenever they released the phone call of Colby contacting his mom while she was in jail? And, he said, I'm going to hit Chad over the head with a shovel. He said, he said, you cannot say that you've been doing this in Jesus Christ's name. And she laughs, and it's so cruel. It's like, it's evil as all get out. We're like, oh, so there's giddiness. And
then catalepsy, followed by madness. It is true that the atmosphere is disturbed, the woodwork cracks, and the doors tremble and groan in the presence of a certain persons after a series of intoxicating acts. Weird sounds, sometimes bloody signs, will appear spontaneously on paper or linen. They are always the same and are classed by magicians as diabolical writings. The very sight of them induces a state of convulsion or ecstasy.
I can see this in all, like Melanie Gibb. I can see them just like, they're like fiends or something. And they get off on this. And then they evade being held accountable because of all the craziness that this is. And this is so obvious to me.
And the medium who believes themselves to be seeing spirits. Thus, Satan, the spirit of evil, is transfigured for them into an angel of light.
Oh, angel of light, you don't say. Joseph Smith.
But before they will manifest, these so-called spirits require sympathetic excitement produced by sexual intercourse on the part of their devotees. Hands must be placed in hands, feet on feet. They must breathe in each other's faces. These acts often are followed by others of an obscene character. The initiates, reveling in these forms of excess, believe themselves to be the elect of God.
Oh. Reveling in these forms of excess, believe themselves to be the elect of God and the arbiters of destiny. They are the successes and I don't know how to say that.
And the arbiters of destiny. They are the successors of the fakirs of India. No warning will save them. Theurgy is the highest degree of occultism. Necromancy is limited to the summoning of dead souls, but the theurgists of the 19th century evoked the entities qualified by them as
David Hamblin. In that case, they refer to them as legion. In the reports, there are documented where he is actually summoning dead souls. And yeah.
Genie, angels of light, exalted spirits, spirits of fire, etc.
Oh, we got the whole casting crew here. It's Christina, Serena, Lori, Melanie Pulaski, Melanie Gibb, David Warlock. We've got Chad. Did I already say them? Chad, Lori. You know who. You know Audrey. You know who.
In their meetings scattered throughout the world, they worship Lucifer. The three mysterious letters J, B, M that the common initiate sees in Masonic temples are reproduced in meeting rooms of the Luciferians, but they no longer mean Jachin, Boaz, Mahabone, as in the lodges. In Theurgy, these three letters mean Jesus, Bethlehemitus, Malicticus.
That's so crazy too, because after Larry's mom died in 2018, JJ had came down. This is one of Larry's stories that I remember him telling me, and he said that JJ told him, and JJ had really never met Larry's mom, you know. And if he did, I don't think he spent a lot of time with her. But JJ was like 5, and he said, Papa, he said, your mom's in Bethlehem. She's dancing. She's dancing in Bethlehem. So for what that's worth, I'm just saying. Just brought that up. Reminded me.
Theurgy is therefore pure Satanism, end quote. Moreover, it is important to note that Kabbalists admitted to the mysteries of Theurgy never mention the word Satan. They look upon certain dissident
If he's a Satan, he's a good Satan, right, Lori? Chad?
adepts who invoke the devil under the name of Satan as heretics, whose system they call Goetie or black magic. They call their own practices Theurgy or white magic.
Or Jesus. I'm just saying.
End quote. They go by many names and claim separation from each other based on fundamental differences.
Just like the LDS Church does with all the fundamentals, the fundamentalists that break off of their main teachings, which was Brigham Young, you know.
However, they're all initiates of ancient Babylonian mystery schools, practitioners of the kindred rites. They deliberately glorify Lucifer as the principle of good while believing our God, Yahweh, as the principle of evil.
And don't you see this in their actions? Murdered children, sexually abused and exploited children, tortured children, all this. Do you not see that?
This ideology can be found in many different belief systems, and it exposes them for who they really are.
And that is our job.
According to author Margaret Alice Murray, quote, the deity worshipped by the witches was in some cases Lucifer, as opposition to the Christian God. Devotees were obliged formally to renounce Christ, the Holy Ghost, and the Christian God before embracing the devil faith, which was the logical outgrowth of the dualist doctrine of double divinity.
And then soon it's about to explain a lot of what happened or about Tylee and about JJ that shrouds their deaths.
This makes it clear. The god of the witches is Lucifer, who is represented either as the double-faced god Janus or a slightly modified version of the Baphomet with a lit candle between its horns, symbolizing the rising Kundalini serpent and activation of the pineal gland. In 1484, Pope Innocent issued a papal bull concerning witchcraft. Quote, it has come to our ears that numbers of both sexes do not avoid to have intercourse with demons, incubi, and succubi, and that by their sorceries and by their incantations, charms, conjurations, they suffocate, extinguish, and cause to perish the births of women. End quote. Perish the births of women. Sound familiar? Child sacrifice is one of the key elements used in all schools of Luciferian magic. It is the main source of power for these people and continues right up into the present day. Quote, the child victim was usually a young infant, usually a witch's child or unbaptized, in other words, not part of the Christian community. This last is an important point and is the reason why unbaptized
JJ had not been baptized yet. He would have when he turned 8. Just
children were considered to be in greater danger or unbaptized, in other words, not part of the Christian community. This last is an important point and is the reason why unbaptized children were considered to be in greater danger from witches than baptized, end quote.
That's JJ.
The subject of child sacrifice is far too extensive for this short video, and it will require its own in-depth investigation. So for now, let's move on.
All right, make a video.
One of the most important aspects of all magic is the acquisition of supernatural power and the ability to influence the natural world through these powers. One of the main ways they do this is by calling upon the spirits for assistance. We know them as unclean spirits, but they're referred to as elemental spirits by the occultists.
Elements, the elements, earth, wind, fire, sun, all that stuff.
Elementals, or, quote, dwellers on the threshold, are spirit beings who require blood to manifest their ethereal body, which is formed by the very vapor of the blood itself. This is the reason why blood sacrifices were often burned to vaporize the blood, allowing it to be absorbed by the elemental spirit.
Tylee.
Quote, they are the incubi and succubi, the monstrous children of impure dreams. When sufficiently condensed to be visible, they are only a vapor, colored by the reflection of a picture and having no independent life. They imitate the life of him who evokes them, as the shadow does the body. These elementals draw the vital heat from a person's in good health and quickly exhaust those who are weak. That is why one feels a chill of the atmosphere when approaching a medium who are persons possessed by these spirits that will never manifest in the presence of anyone able to unveil the mystery of their monstrous birth. End quote. Now that we've exposed their methods, let's take a quick look at their rise to political power. The year was 1592, and the North Berwick witches are tried for treason. During the trial, it was exposed that their Grand Master Witch, Frances Stuart, who was the Earl of Bothwell, attempted to remove King James of Scotland with the use of ritual magic.
So why is it like back in the day and it went to trial and stuff, but not today? It's so shrouded and so diluted and just bizarre. But again, I think this is their method. This is why they do this way. That's why you see Lori being suddenly incompetent to stand trial. That's why you see David Levitt, referring to, which nobody even called him out for. They say, they're at this press conference or whatever, and they ask him about David Hamblin, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I know him." And then he's like, he calls one of the victims tragically mentally ill. That was Hamblin's daughter, I do believe. He calls her mentally ill, and that's what they do. They label you with, they do that to discredit you. They do that so that nobody will believe you because it's so crazy.
When he failed, his coven and himself were arrested, tried, and hanged. Lady Queensborough writes, quote, studying the history of the Mopses in 1761, we find its members adorned with the distinctive garter of the witch, performing the ceremonial kissing of the devil's tail as part of the ritual of 18th century masonry. The coven of the Middle Ages is the Masonic Lodge of today.
And so where do all the temple rituals come from? Freemasonry, right? Mm-hmm.
But the craft remains the craft.
Craft.
Quote. Now that we know some of the methods used by the other side, not only can we avoid them, but we can use them as indicators of their presence throughout history and piece together a timeline of events that not only reveals their presence, but exposes the very fact that they've been here all along, plotting, planning, and waiting for that perfect moment. Thank you all for watching.
Thank you all for watching too. I appreciate it. I know this was long, but again, it's necessary. It's not going to be condensed. It's not going to be, it's not meant to be. And for anybody that, it demands that, then shame on you. As far as that, because that's not giving it the time and the proper investigation that my family deserves. My family deserves. These victims deserve the time and just not chalking things off just because they're unbelievable to us. Just discrediting it because it sounds so freaking wacky. That doesn't mean that there's not even just a little bit of truth to that. There's truth to everything, but they deserve it. They deserve for their stories to be told. And I guess that is what my job is to do, is to just help make sure that gets done. I was supposed to be JJ's godmother, but they were Mormon. So, either way, that was my only nephew. I don't have any nieces. I don't have any other nephews. He was it. And it's something that I vowed to do. I didn't get to be his aunt while he was here on this planet, but I try and will never stop trying to be the aunt that I think that he deserves. His little voice it deserves to be heard. So does Tylee's. Tylee's voice deserves to be heard. They were silenced. I mean, they were so silenced even growing up, and just things that we did not know. I did not know because I didn't live anywhere near them. I didn't see them very often. But yeah, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. We don't. We can just assume that people are like us. We can assume, but that just makes an ass out of you and me. But anyways, I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you, moderators, so much for doing this with me. Mental institutions, nightmares, and a lot of them are owned by dun, 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 these big corporations like the church, like where Lori was, the interim hospitals, and I don't know how it works. I'm not like accusing anybody, but this fits with the rest of the story. This is the crazy shit that didn't just stop with Chad and Lori. It continues on, and we see that through the Thibodeaus in Arizona. We see that through Frankie Hildebrandt. We see that through Hamblin, Levitt, Rossi. There's so many more that if we just, I don't have the time. I don't have the mind expansion. My brain don't go that big. I feel like I'm going to implode sometimes. So, and then just think about the whole portaling convos about, from Zalema and the FOIA docs, where she's saying that, Lori said that I didn't even have to use an airline or use an airplane to get here, portaled, whatever. Okay. Whatever the hell they're doing. I mean, I laugh at it because it sounds ridiculous, but Janet Russin I didn't finish that. In Blaze Media, there was a part, and it freaking rubbed me raw. I was like, what the heck? Okay. Because there's a part in there where it diverts you to the DOJ website. Okay. Department of Justice. And there's a part, or was it the CIA? I don't remember right now. I need to stop saying those letters because I keep getting shadow banned. I stay in the shadow bans. But talking about remote viewing, and I've heard that in a lot of the SRA accounts, and even from like DJ Norman, who is one of we love DJ, It's like I don't understand it, but I don't also discredit them. I think what they're saying is real and it's true. I just don't know how to wrap my mind around it, but I'm gonna sit here and I will do my best to try the best I can to understand, because I do think that it's very much important, and it is, to tell their stories. I know it looks like they're covered up, but anyways, who dat? But thank y'all so much for being here. Oh hell. Oh God. Janelle. I remember Julie saying something, or somebody said that Julie said, so a bunch of hearsay, that Julie saw somebody in the airport in Salt Lake City and his face transformed and it was Kane. I was like, or Bigfoot. I don't remember. But anyways, Janelle says someone said they saw a spirit come out of Julie. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it, because I'm telling you right now, I know that people don't believe in God, and that's fine. Do what you do. I don't care. It's none of my business. But in order to talk about this stuff, we've had to talk about uncomfortable things. Okay. If we want truth, if we want change, that's what we have to do as society. And so we can either be immature and just label people, who are just seeking the truth. That's all I'm doing. I have no other motives. It's not to elevate myself. It's not to be of importance or make myself relevant. I'm curious as all get out, because this is telling the next generation in my family to come and generations beyond that why Charles Vallow, why Tylee Ryan, why JJ Vallow were murdered, and why they were deemed dark according to my own damn lineage. So it's very much valid. And it's very much important in my own family lineage for what it's worth. But I just want it to be detailed, and I want the stories to come out. I want their stories to be told. And that's justice through understanding. So the Girl on Fire interview, yeah. I talked to her before that interview, just her and and I was such a spaz, because I'm just like, oh yeah, me too. Like I just to talk to somebody, especially somebody that's like that moved in the same circles like you, Janelle, I want to know more. I just want to know more. So it was nice to be able to talk to her before she went public, and then that way I'm not sucker punched by it either. That would be nice if every now and then you'd get a phone call and say, hey, we interviewed so and so. Here you go. Be prepared for it. It would, anyways. Everybody's different though. Even in your grief cycle or your process. I mean, that's when I was told I did not want to meet her. Right? Didn't need to meet her. I remember whenever the Girl on Fire interviews came out, not interviews, podcast came out. Oh my God, I scoured over them. I probably screen recorded them somewhere because she took them down after that, after her interview. I don't blame her, but I just like to have reference points. I don't trust anybody because of all the disappearing websites and videos and things like that. So call me crazy. Just don't call me late for dinner. But love always wins. You guys are proof of this. Justice for Tylee, Charles, Tammy, JJ, and Joe. And I'll see you guys hopefully Tuesday. Bye.